Okay, we'll call the Olivet's Planning Community Design Commission for, what is today's date? November 16th in order. Madam Vice Chair, would you please call the roll since Brian's out?
I'll start at the bottom and work my way up. Sam Wallet,
Present.
Daniel Rosenberg,
Present.
Tim Spiegelglass,
Present.
Laura Ragsdale,
Present.
Acting Secretary Brian Lewis.
Absent.
Okay, Cheryl Wagoner, I'm here, and Rob Durgill.
Present.
Okay,
Let it also be known that our city council liaison, Councilmember Missy Waldman's in attendance, as well as our staff liaisons, Carlos Trejo, Olivet's Planning Community Development Department's Director, and Dawn Doty, Senior Planner. And I believe Jack is still out for
Yes.
classes. Okay, good. Carlos, am I missing anybody else?
No, sir. You have everybody accounted for.
Good. Well, thanks everybody for attendance. We appreciate you being here. For those who haven't been in attendance before, just to kind of give you a little instructions of how we do things. We follow the agenda items and we'll basically be kind of working down through there. If there are people that are out here also for public comments, we do have a time for that before we get into the new business items and other business items. We do ask you that you raise your hand and you'll basically come to the microphone, state your name and address for the record. And then we ask that the comments be limited to no more than 3 minutes to be respectful of everybody's time. And to make sure everybody's opinion gets heard. Usually, it's probably not gonna be a problem with this crowd, but sometimes we have a full crowd in here and it's very important there. For anybody that's on via Zoom, we do ask you to, if you have a comment that's related to an agenda item or a general comment, we ask you to raise your hand. If it's related to an agenda item that's on new business or other business, there'll be a time for that. And how we do that is with each agenda item, there's typically a staff report and staff will go over the petition and then we'll have time for the commission members to discuss that. And then we typically bring on the petitioner to kind of further explain things or go over any other details. At that point in time, after we've had those discussions, we'll ask for public comments as well. And so for people that are on via Zoom, we do ask you to make sure you click the like button that should be down at the bottom. And if you do have a comment and you're brought on to the what's the word I'm looking for? To the screen, we ask you that you make sure that your video is on and that your mic is not muted. By default, those are set for typically for it to be off and muted, so it would help speed things up if you can make sure that you look for that and take care of that before you get on. All right, that being said, Carlos, am I missing anything? Did I miss anything?
No, sir. I think you got everything covered.
All right,
well.
good. So we'll now move on to item 3, which is the comprehensive plan update. Carlos?
All right. Bear with me 1 second. All right, just to bring everybody up to date on the comprehensive plan, major thing that we have going in a couple of weeks will be an open house to our residents and participants of the plan, in which the draft plan recommendations will be presented to the public. And that following that open house, the recommendations and draft plan will be made available in there. They'll be out throughout the holidays up through January, and then a presentation would be provided to the commission in January with a public hearing scheduled for February. And then for consideration of adoption, it's up to the commission following that hearing. And then once the commission takes action, we'll be asking the council to acknowledge or accept the plan as part of their process. So I urge everybody to participate and attend. Again, the draft objectives, potential community actions have been shared with the advisory committee. They reviewed those this last week. We're right now working furiously to try to consolidate all their comments that we received. And we have a discussion scheduled with the consultants tomorrow. Then they're going to start drafting and putting everything together, have it prepared for the open house in there. It's a fast pace. process is pretty exhaustive, but we're working hard to try to stay on that plan and have this completed by year's end in there. And one of the goals again was really to reach out and engage with the public. That does take time, and it takes a lot of. It's a very slow process, and that's good in there. And I think they've done a really good job on there. And I think in the objectives that they've prepared, along with the community proposed community actions, very reflective of what the community's values, visions, and aspirations are. And there, so I believe it's very well represented. Again, that draft, that open house on November 30th will be the first availability of all the information. Give people about a month to decipher the info, and then have discussions with the commission. Be glad to answer any specific questions. Chairman, Vice Chairman, both of you are representatives of the advisory committee. If there's anything else you want to provide in that process.
Okay.
Good. Great, Carol.
Carlos, so they're going to present to the community the draft plan recommendations.
Mhm.
And then they're going to be putting together the draft. They'll get people's comments on the recommendations, and then put together the draft. So when will the planning commission and the public see the draft?
The draft will be made available right after the meeting on the 30th.
Okay.
In there. So they would have an opportunity to forward comments through the process. And then after the holidays, those we have to provide some type of deadline to take those comments for the consultant to analyze those, make any adjustments or changes necessary before it's presented to the plan commission as a whole.
Okay.
In there.
Okay.
Does that
And
answer what?
I think so. And then the city will put the draft on the website?
Yes,
or
we'll
will
make it
show-
available
okay.
on the comprehensive plan website. We'll have that whole plan accessible for the public
Great.
in there. So just to make sure, we're going to present the draft to the public on November 30th. Go over that draft and then inform them how to access that information and what the schedule of events would be to provide feedback. And then by January, we're hoping to come back to the commission to present, the draft reflective of any additional comments that we had received in there.
Okay. Great, thank you.
Any other questions, comments for Carlos? Carlos, I just want to say, all the work that you and Dawn have done on this, it's pretty amazing. And I know there's so much more behind the scenes than just all the meetings that we've attended, but we greatly appreciate it. And I think we're going to get a really nice product as a result. So I appreciate it a lot.
No problem, sir. Yes.
All right, we'll move on then to public comments. Does anybody in the audience have any public comments? Seeing none, Carlos, can you please check online?
Yes. If there is anybody on the public that would like to speak regarding a general item not on the agenda, if you can show your hand and we'll transfer you over. Okay, Chairman, I do not see any.
Okay, good. So we'll move on to item 5, new business. And this is item A, 9510, 9512, 9514, Olive Boulevard, Great Heart Brewing Company. Carlos?
Okay, Chairman, we do have representatives here regarding Great Heart Brewing, including the operators along with their architect. This was approved at a previous commission meeting as a special permit to authorize a kind of a brew house microbrewery along with some restaurant operations at the Plant Haven Center at 9314 Olive Boulevard. The tenant spaces are addressed as you see up on the slide itself. Part of the approval, there was a request that initiated from the commission to have an evaluation of the placement of the kitchen ventilation system and how that was going to be installed. And they're pretty specific request in there, but the commission was willing to forward a recommendation to council to authorize a special permit with the condition that the petitioner comes back for a community design review for the exhaust system. It went on to council and it was unanimously approved, and the special permit was authorized for their operations in there. Since they've been working on those revisions, and those were forwarded to our review about a month ago. And the initial plans identified the exhaust system located at the southwest corner of the building, in the building's rear. And there, as you can see, they have a patio area here that would be on the west side, so that's facing Olivet Lane, so with the front being out in this end. And I want to make sure we're streaming the right graphics for the audience in there. If you look at their floor plan layout, Olive Boulevard is along the upper part here. Olivet Lanes would be on the left-hand side, and you can see the kitchen area is right here, with the specific area of the exhaust fans located here. And then you can see in their site plan how they were going to run the exhaust parallel with that wall out to the back rear of the building in there. And you can see this in a little bit close-up of where the kitchen area is in relation to the building as a whole. And that's back at that southwest corner in there. These were some excellent visuals that they provided to get a perspective and view of that. And there in that we did reach out to the petitioner, and Mr. Spiegelglass volunteered to have a conversation regarding the ventilation system, and they had a really good, healthy discussion on what the goal, what he viewed as the goal of the commission of trying to screen that ventilation system from view. Primarily concern was from the Olive Boulevard corridor and how this would project above the roof line and its visibility, especially if you're going eastbound on traffic in there. And there are some things that the exhaust fan system has to do when it's along a roof line and such, and that is project above the plane of the roof and itself. So following the discussions, they did go back and do some revisions later this afternoon and came up with a alternative solution. So again, we're looking at that back southwest corner. Here's the kitchen area. The vent system would run parallel with the wall as it did before. At the point that it exits the rear of the building, instead of popping upward and then releasing the exhaust, it'll do a 90-degree turn, run parallel with the back of the building, and then pop up more where the flat roof area is, and pretty much be fully concealed from Olive and there. So I do have the architect here. If there's any questions, we do have representatives, or the operators, the Valentines are also here and there. In addition, we wanted to, we're asking the commission to take action on the community design review regarding the hood relocation or the hood placement as proposed under this diagram. Secondly, the Valentines had approached me to inquire about the hours of operation. They restricted their hours, and this was what was provided to us, from 3 p.m. to about 11 p.m. A majority of the days of the week, where traditional liquor license would authorize a restaurateur to have earlier hours and later hours in the process. So there's these two competing things: a request that they submitted, and then what's permitted in the ordinance in general. So when I drafted the ordinance on there, I took their hours and inserted them in the adopted ordinance as part of that special permit. So all of a sudden, those become effective, even though they were more stringent than what the code would have permitted by right. We recently, they approached me asking for some flexibility in the hours of operation, and instead of opening up at 3 p.m. to open up by 11 a.m. So Monday through Sunday, the request was to have permitted hours of no earlier than 11 a.m., no later than 11 p.m. Now, those are public hours. Their staff workers will probably be there before that, regardless of what was in there. And typically, and again, because I placed it in the ordinance, it became effective, so I needed to come back. And there's two ways to consider a change. One is through the Plan Commission has the authority to amend the special permit without having to send it back to the council if it meets specific criteria, doesn't increase floor area, doesn't increase parking, and isn't a substantial change to the authorized use. Well, the authorized use is a microbrewery with food cells. And they're not changing the floor plan or expanding the building, so there's no additional parking that would be necessary, or so it's solely hours of operation. So at this point, just as a discussion purpose, I'd like to get some guidance from the commission of whether they would consider just amending the special permit through the commission only, rather than having a full special permit amendment where it goes through the commission and the council. And I'm looking just for some general feedback. I think, based on what the code permits, the commission's well within its authority to make those changes, unless there are some concerns in there. And then that's properly recorded within the minutes and attached as, and the council is also informed about the process. If the commission is concerned, they could petition for a full change in the process and then get a whole new ordinance and code, but ultimately it's going to look the same. Whether those hours should have been incorporated or not, I made the decision to add it because they were putting, that's the information that they brought in there, but I don't think that there was much of a discussion about operating hours at that time. So I do have the Valentines along with Mr. McGee with V3 Studios, their architect, in attendance. I'd be glad to answer any specific questions.
Any specific questions for Carlos? No?
All right, Mr. and Mrs. Valentine.
Please turn on your microphone.
Yeah. And then also state your name and address again, if you don't mind.
Yeah. I'm John Valentine,
And Helena Valentine.
and we're gonna be at 9514 Olive Boulevard.
Okay, good. Thank you.
And so basically this was really giving us the flexibility as a business to be able to host events, private events, and be open these hours so we can be successful. And really be able to operate because, that's what we need.
Yeah, and being open at 3 p.m. limits us to not be able to be open for lunch, for example, which is of course also a big driver for us.
I think that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So it doesn't sound like there are going to be any arguments with that. Did anybody have any questions or comments with the revisions to the exhaust?
I'd like,
Go ahead, Carol.
I'd like Tim's perspective.
I think it was a very good compromise. I think it takes it all the way to the back. I think the only thing I would ask is that it looks like the building finishes on that. It's not a piece of ductwork going through there, that it actually matches that building. Whether it's a chase or however you guys want to do it, but it needs to match the light finishes of that building. But other than that, I think it's a good compromise.
Is that,
Glad to hear.
yeah, no, it sounds great.
Yes.
Is that going to be okay?
If it pleases the court.
Definitely not the court.
Obviously, it's just another expense, for us, but if that's what needs to be done, that's what needs to be done.
Good. No, we appreciate it. We're very, very happy that you're coming into our community. So this is a really nice place and we're looking forward to it. So,
Yeah, we're
Great.
excited.
Excited to.
Yeah.
Thank
any
you.
other questions or comments?
And with those expanded hours.
Yeah.
I remember,
Right.
I do.
Okay, at this point in time, I think we do, unless you're, no, he's good, okay. We do need to ask for public comments, so let's just, is there anybody in the audience that has any, go ahead. You have to come up there. You have to state your name and address for the record.
Cause we don't know who you are.
Yeah.
Greg Yowitz, 6 Other Hill Lane. I'd just like to say that I think that however it happened, right, with getting the hours in the ordinance. But I don't know why they would have any fewer hours that, other than what are permitted by law, that Fallon's has, who's one of my tenants or my future tenants are going to have. So I would fully endorse them having whatever the liquor license and operating hours of the city are, and lunch and dinner and beyond. And to Tim's point, I think it's a good compromise, and I fully endorse it.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Seeing no other public comments in the audience, Carlos, you please check online.
Mr. Chairman, there are none.
All right. Any further discussion amongst ourselves? And then do I hear a motion?
Chairman, before that motion's made, then I would ask the commission, I wasn't sure on the reaction. The agenda does note discussion on the it just notes review the changes to accommodate the kitchen exhaust system and lunch hours, but I wasn't sure on the comfort level of the commission. If the commission is supportive of the hours change, if it can be added to the motion in here, and then we'll make
I
it
think
part
that
of the record.
makes sense
Uh,
for us to
I-
add it. What's that? Yeah, please.
All right, so what are our hours that we allow for a business such as that? You know, they can set their own hours of what they want,
Mhm.
but what are our regulations for hours of a business?
Good question.
Such
And if
as
you can
theirs.
give me a quick second here
All right.
just to make sure. Those hours of operation would be regulated on, there are two components. One, the city does not have, restricted hours on, restaurant operations. Those are generally handled through that special permit process if the city wants to impose, specific hours, in there. Well, we did not do so for Fallon's Sugar Fire, or so we just authorized the capacities, in there. And in this case, again, given the application information that was provided, I did place it on there, in there. Now, the standards, for those will be, regulated through, if you're selling alcohol, they're regulated through our liquor licenses and our license code. And if you bear with me, I will get the exact time here. Because we just went this over with the council at last meeting. So here, the retail liquor by the drink license along Sunday by the drink license, this allows them to sell liquor for consumption on the premises and also for somebody to take home and the package not Sunday hours. And of course, it's gonna take me all the way to the front. I apologize here, but bear with me.
I'm just surprised you don't have these memorized.
We just went over it when I'll note it later, not that. Please.
I would think either by now you or Dawn. that would be fine. I don't expect Jack to know.
Yeah. Period of license, not transferable. I know they're in there somewhere, and Don, if you can. All
So,
right.
Missy, what's the intent of trying to find that out? Do you want to maximize with the allowable hours so then they have more flexibility in the future?
Well, given that I'm an elected official and I should not be influencing, I will say, that's the tone of my curiosity.
Yes, I kind of gathered that.
Can we base it on the liquor license, whatever that is?
No, because the liquor license, well,
Whatever
Actually-
the hours regulated by the liquor license?
Yeah, there it is. It's under the definitions.
Okay.
So Sunday is 9 a.m. to midnight. And then, of course, on the regular day, 6 a.m. to 1:30 a.m. I apologize in there. I was in the wrong section on that.
Okay, so they are asking for 11 AM to 11 PM, which is easily within inside those hours.
That is correct.
Okay.
So is there any interest in having more flexibility with those hours? And if so, what, why don't you come up to the podium?
If we of course could maximize our flexibility, that would of course be appreciated. We don't think that we will need it because we don't want to be a bar, as we already told you, we want to be like the brew pub and restaurant. But of course, having flexibility of being open earlier, for example, being able to offer breakfast in, I don't know, a couple of years would of course be very appreciated.
That sounds good. Does everybody agree with that? Yeah, I think that makes sense. So, the time, let's say 8 or 7? But anybody have?
I would say 7, just in case,
7.
maybe you want to watch soccer or something like that, and
Wow,
one day
that's
it
a
becomes
very
a
good
soccer bar.
That's a very good
Sounds
point. Okay, and closing time? What are you thinking?
We could do 1:30 if that's possible, otherwise midnight, whatever you think.
I think there was limited to midnight on certain
Chairman, one
days.
of the things the commission can consider is just removing the limitation on hours and let them follow through on the liquor license.
I think that makes sense.
That makes sense.
I do.
Agree.
I do. Okay. Simple enough. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So that's gonna create an interesting, whoever's gonna propose, a motion. Might have to create some tricky wording.
So what,
Yeah.
The motion will be, should be on your monitors. In there, and then just at the, towards the end, in there that the restriction on operating hours, be removed.
Entirely.
Correct.
Oh, okay, good. That's easy. All right, do I hear a motion?
I guess I'll
Take it.
go for it.
Go ahead, Carol.
Okay, y'all chime in. I would like to motion to approve the petition for community design review for the installation of the kitchen exhaust system as presented in the memorandum from the Department of Planning and Community Development dated November 16th, subject to staff conditions noted therein, and removing the special permit stipulation of designating hours. Let the
Operating. hours.
the operating hours. The operating hours and the liquor ordinance will govern.
Motion's been made by Carol Wagner. Do I hear a second?
Second.
And seconded by Tim Spiegelglass. Carlos, you please call the vote.
Yes, sir.
Approved. Approved.
Commissioner,
Approved.
Commissioner Ragsdale,
Approve.
Commissioner Wagner,
Approved.
and Chairman Dragell.
Approved.
The motion passes unanimously 6-0.
Okay, good. So we'll move on then to item B, 9115 and 9175 Olive Crossing, lots 1 and 2. A proposed Aldi grocery store. Carlos?
We are going to introduce a petition we received for the Olive Crossing development. And what I'd like to do, this item is going to be introduced to you for the first time. And it'd be best to kind of explain the Olive Crossing development. In that process, the zoning ordinance and the adopted agreements with the developer for Olive Crossing as we focus then down to the development as a whole. So all of you know, especially going back to the 2006 comprehensive plan, which started a couple of years prior, obtaining community input has always been a desire for a grocer and all of that in there. And we've had that as one of our goals and to try to accomplish and they're in the community for quite some time. When Olive Crossing's development first went out, part of the RFQ was to create this dynamic sense of place and community center, with the goal to expand some retail opportunities in there, but within the character of the vision of our comprehensive plan. And in doing so, Greg Yowitz with Keats Properties and Keats Olivet submitted and was assigned as the developer for the Olive Crossing, at that point being called the Olive Gateway Plaza. And part of the agreement included a request to try to pursue a grocery store in that process. It got further refined as the agreements got closer to the council within their agreement authorizing up to a 20,000 square foot grocer on the site and granting them a special permit for that several years ago in that process. So the developer has always been looking to do so. Part of the Olive Crossing development and the work that was done in conjunction by the city and the developer was to provide some flexibility on the site. We thought the site would eventually have been anchored by a grocer. That didn't proceed, as we urged the developer to consider more of a broader mixed use and higher density development. And therefore we brought in an office hotel component along with the residential component. And it seemed that the odds to try to establish a grocer were going to get a little bit more difficult. And then of course our neighbor to the east was doing their own full commercial type of strip development, which is within their parameters. But lo and behold, it looks like we finally have a grocer, and we've been working diligently to do this along with the developer to get to this position. In that process, the developer had to go back to the council to request some flexibility in terms of the identifications and types of grocers in there. The original developers agreement said that they can have a grocer in there, but place specific limitations in different vendors that would be permitted. That was amended a couple of months ago to permit an Audi as part of this development, and that was authorized by the council in there. So before you today is a request for a grocery store that is to be an Audi in here. The role of the commission, and I urge, is to not necessarily to concentrate on who the tenant is, but to focus on how this development facilitates and complies with the planned development district that was created for this area and furthers our comprehensive plan. So again, this is part of the Olive Crossing development. The grocer would be located on lots 1 and 2, which are highlighted here. This is the last amended conceptual development plan for the development in there. Lot 4, which is this component here, is the residential component that has been almost completed and is currently being occupied. This is the garage structure on the east side. Lot 3 here is the retail component of 15,000 square feet to be anchored by two eating establishments is located here. That one has gone through the commission for review and permits have been issued for construction on this. Lot 5 is the office building component along with the associated parking structure for that office. And then lot 6 back here at this back southeast corner is the proposed hotel in there. So that gives you some type of context in there. So the property is owned Olivet Gateway PDD, which is the planned development district. And essentially we created the boundaries of this 14-acre development and then authorized the developer to create his own zoning district in there. So it's not zoned COR, CC, LI, or anything like that. It is zoned Olivet Gateway Planned Development District. And within there, we adopted it through Ordinance 2675, the specific regulations and criteria for this zoning district in here. What that does is it gives the developer a little bit more flexibility and also the ability to make a more cohesive development in that process. And again, that ordinance was 2675 in here, and that's been reviewed and amended within the past couple of years. One was to permit the consolidation of this lot back in 2021. So that kind of gives you a little bit of the background in there. So the intent of the PDD, or this Olive Gateway Plaza PDD, and we have two planned development districts in Olivet. The Olivet Gateway, and then we have the Olivet Apartments one that's located behind Chevy's and CVS. So for the Gateway, the intent and purpose is to ensure coordinated redevelopment of this land adjacent to I-170 and Olive, to develop a mixed-use gateway in substantial compliance with the Olivet Strategic Plan, or our comprehensive plan, which had a vision of a mixture of uses, densities, gathering spaces, pedestrian opportunities, character, and really identify what is the city of Olivet, and to provide a gateway and entry opening into our community. A majority of the regulations were taken from various portions of our zoning code and set under the MU district, and then applied in that ordinance, again, 2675, to govern the 14 acres that comprise the Olivet Gateway, in this case, Olive Crossing. So ordinance 2675 authorizes a 20,000 square foot grocer. That's been okayed already by the council in that process. It adopts chapter 428, which is our Olivet Olive Boulevard Community Design standards that run along the corridor, including building placement, building architectural standards, the landscape standards, exterior lighting standards, and signage standards. So all these are codified both within our code and the adopting ordinance. And then for the development area as a whole, it identifies and requires certain streetscape improvements, pedestrian connections, and public spaces. So again, within this PDD, we establish this vision, and then we identify different standards and different sections of the code that would be applicable to this, to try to really emphasize on the character and the community aspect of this development. So I'm going to start on the streetscape improvements, pedestrian connections, and public spaces, because these were specifically adopted under ordinance 2675 when the initial development plans came to the city, because this is considered conceptual. So to guide the developer, we specifically identified things in here that we want to ensure that we see in any development that takes place in Olive Crossing. We had specific streetscape nodes that were identified in there, and you can see kind of they're highlighted here in red at the intersection of Hilltop and Olive Boulevard, at Price Road, and then anchoring Price along here on the west. We had some pedestrian connections that we wanted to ensure that the site was fully pedestrian and bicycle connected in there. And then we had identification of specific public spaces that we wanted to ensure that the developer emphasized as part of the development in there. And I'll get a little closer. I know they're a little small in there, but they're part of your packet of information in there. For the streetscape, we wanted to ensure we had a continuous streetscape here along I-170 through Olive and then across the Hilltop. The designation of the green was because the Great Rivers Greenway was really facilitating and identifying the plans for the extension of the Centennial Greenway along the northern boundaries of this development. The orange indicated the areas that were not part of the Greenway, but we wanted to emphasize that we wanted to continue those Greenway characteristics, emphasize on the ability of our streetscape and the ability of pedestrian movement along there, and identify these two corners and the screening of the parking as part of the process. And again, those are within the ordinance when it was adopted. Then we had these emphasis on the pedestrian connections within the site. So again, now extracting the Olive, the Centennial Trail and the extensions along Olive to Price. Within development itself, we wanted to make sure that both pedestrian and bicycle movement could coordinate within the site with easy flexibility and connectivity in there, because this was supposed to be a walkable type of development. And then regarding public spaces, we emphasized specific areas in the conceptual development plan that we wanted the developer to emphasize these community characteristics and identities in there. There's certain specific type of nodes to ensure that they're well reflected and identified, to identify that you're here, or they're important places or they're open areas that are open to the public and allow for community interaction. So as we go through this development, we're going to identify each of these three and then kind of talk about the discussions we had with the applicants in there. So the streetscape improvements, and you can see here, again, the gateway crossing that's just been completed here. This is a hilltop, so you're right in front of Chevy's, and there's a small refuge island. And then that gets to what would be this corner here, which we'll talk about in just a second. It's an important corner because at that point, the gateway is going east to west and then turns north to south. And then if you continue east to west, you're now entering our community of all of that and going through our own streetscape and standards and such. The other opportunity was, of course, as you're going eastbound on Olive, you know, the importance of this corner here at Price and Olive at that time in there. I'll note that in the initial plans that the developer had in the discussions were the possibility that there may be a drive-through. So we were trying to push the building closer to the corner, make sure that that it was screened in that process. And overall, again, these two corners represented important opportunities within the streetscape to create a character that's consistent with all of that, and that identified or illustrated in our comprehensive plan and further illustrated in chapter 428. So what we got, you know, right now in your plan set is, you know, a note and discussions that we've had with the developers regarding this corner here at Hilltop and Olive, that there needs to be some type of presence there. And there's something that signifies the importance of that corner to our community and to the entrance of the development itself in here. And then, of course, as you're going eastbound at Price and Olive, that we want to see a presence there also, a significant corner. And while the back of the building is facing that in, it's just to make sure that it has some type of a character enhancement to it in that process. Then as we talk about pedestrian connections in the development, you'll see their landscape plan. Was able to highlight in gray the sidewalk network and show you, you know, where those connections are. One of the things they added was a connection here to Olive, and again, consistent with chapter 428. And they're consistent with those exhibits that you saw earlier that were part of the ordinance and the developer agreements. But then you can see here, you know, we're looking for, you know, what happens here. The pedestrian has to cross over to the apartment complex. Here, the pedestrian has an opportunity to go across. We'll talk about this space here later. And then here, there's another crossing here, not fully articulated, to connect to the back end or the what would be the southwest corner of the development to the apartment complex. So basically what I'm asking to the commission again is that you need to be informed, and what I'm looking for is your feedback on, you know, the character of those spaces of those two areas on the streetscape in there. The developer is going to show some additional landscaping and some improvements, but that's where our emphasis is. How are we enhancing that streetscape, making that look like what we want all of that to be in there? As we talk about the public spaces, both at Price and Olive and Hilltop and Olive, they're starting to define the space here. So this is what you would be looking if you were going eastbound on Olive, getting ready to Price to go eastward and cross Price, really. And then this is the Hilltop Olive intersection. So if you're going westbound, you know what we're going to see here in there. Now, keep in mind, one of the unique things on this development was the number of utilities that are run all over the place, and that's been one of the major roadblocks in terms of the movement that this development has. So there are expectations. There are a number of poles, there are boxes, and then That's just what's visible. Underneath, there's a lot more stuff in there. But we're looking for some type of presence to be in there. This is Olive Crossing. This is the Olivet Gateway. This is also a very important corner that connects the northeast quadrant or the Hilltop Arrowhead, Brightly and Collingwood residences to the south end of Olive Boulevard and to this development. And that was one of the important pieces and components when considering this. And that's why we engage with the Great Rivers Greenway to create the crossing that you see today that was put in place. Here you'll see the price elevations. We need to talk about the improvements that are made here, the elevations, and they're not sure what's in the back of this, if that's just a parapet wall and that's the back of the parapet wall or not. They are proposing to place a monument sign along there to add shrubbery and some ornamentation fencing, as you see articulated here to the price side in there. But this will be the back of the building, and that's natural, and that there's nothing wrong with that. It has to have a back. It's just how do you make the back have some character, especially when you're abutting, our third major street in the community. They are addressing some of those components, and again, I not really articulated in some of the vignettes or perspectives that they're showing, but they would be providing some metal panel screening, some fencing in there. I'll let them talk about that and how they're trying to coordinate that with the development overall, so there's some consistency in that process. This would be, along back here in this area. The other thing would be the Olive Boulevard elevation and streetscape. That is very important as part of the process of improving our corridor and creating the character of Olivet. And you'll see the sidewalk extension. This is already existing, the proposed landscaping. There is a wall here that runs along the parking perimeter. The building placement being close to and defining the street. The improvements that they're showing here at the corner, trying to address that node in the space. But note in chapter 428, again, we're looking to define the corridor, that pedestrian corridor, to create a pleasant environment along there to make sure that the parking is set back in there and it's very well screened in that process. So when you go through your plan and have your discussions, this is to me probably the most important cross section in here. Here you'll see Olive Boulevard. Here's the sidewalk and tree lawn. Here's the slope and green space. Here's that retaining wall, that dark one that you see here. Then there's that green space that they show landscaping, and then you get to the parking lot. They're proposing a retaining wall similar to the system that you'll see up across the street at the CVS development. Our goal is, again, to make sure that this wall has a pretty progressive character, complementary to the comprehensive plan in chapter 428. These are the elevations along Olive Boulevard. I think they did a good job in terms of having articulation in the building, having voids, having the selection of materials. Look at those closely, have that discussion. They have a sample in there. Take a look at the brick that's proposed. This is more of a paneling system in there. Engage in the colors, engage in the sizes in there. These are modular concrete veneer in there. They're 4 by 8 by 16 and there, and make sure you understand the texture and the change that goes through there and how you see that fit within the development in that. Other things that we discussed with the developer was the movement of vehicle traffic into the docking areas. I'm going to take you back in a second. That the docking doors are on this side at the northwest corner of the property. The elevation does go down. Then you'll see that there is a dumpster location there. Also, so you'll see the dumpster here, the docking doors potential future extension. But then you can see that the grades here, that there's an inlet here, and then the grades kind of go up on that. So that is kind of set at a lower elevation. Make sure you look at those elevations, get an understanding of the elevation. And that's why it's important that that streetscape screen continues on along Price to help buffer and define that area, to take that view away from the back of the building and the pedestrian to have a little bit more of an excited opportunity for movement in that process. One of the unique things we had a discussion with is the striping areas that are shown here as part of the site plan, a little bit better articulated, and the turning movements here. And there is to take a look at those, analyze those. That is striping. And there, it's pretty extensive in width, almost the full width of the drive aisle lanes, which are typically about 21 feet. So engage in discussions regarding that and what their purpose is. They've explained it to us. I think that's a good question for the commission to talk about. What are other opportunities, what are other textures, materials in which some of these goals can be conducted or done in there, especially for highlighting that pedestrian movement from the apartment complex to this area. So you get these three phases that you're going through. You're passing a drive aisle, you're passing a striped area, and then you're entering the zone of the building entry. And there before you get to the doors, to have discussions about that. And then again, you know, one of the things that has been brought to our attention is to be more specific about lighting fixtures in there. Chapter 428 has specific criteria in there controlling the type of fixture in there, which they're complying with. It's at 90 degrees. But what we didn't get into was about the lumens and trying to get away from that high spectrum and away from that blue lighting and try to stay more in that 3,000 range, if I recall correctly. The other thing, note what those heights are. The code restricts light post heights to 15 feet. We've allowed plenty of developments to go up to 18 feet. They're asking for 25 feet. And that's something you guys got to take a look at and consider. What that does is that reduces the amount of fixtures that they need on the site. So there are some positives in there. I think it just depends on how you control that light. To me, is more important on what that height is in there. So I think that kind of gives you a pretty good overview. We've had all these items that I brought forward to you. We sat down with the petitioner a couple of weeks ago to discuss, and then we had a early on meeting this summer with representatives of Audi's to kind of talk about the context of this. So we've been anxiously awaiting the development plans to come in and here. Information regarding this meeting had been posted on our website. And so far, there were 16 thumbs up, if my son says is a good thing.
Look, it is. I see 2, 3, 4, 16 is good.
So that was exciting. The goal here, again, you know, we finally got a grocer. We're excited about that. The grocer is going to be in Audi's. I think they're going to be a great community partner in there. But what we're looking for is making sure that this building complements the vision of the Olivet Gateway Plaza PDD, which again is reflective of our comprehensive plan. The other thing that the building needs to go and illustrate is that, again, this development has to be pedestrian friendly, enhanced streetscapes, a good pedestrian bicycle network, and identify these node spots, Hilltop and Olive, and then be cognizant of the importance of Price and Olive in that process. We have representatives here along with the developer to have a discussion. Other things we noted and the developer has responded, and I think part of your packet, you know, as we're hearing more comments as we're going through the comprehensive plan update process, is regarding sustainability. And we had a discussion with them about the company itself and their sustainability practices, but also on the building and what's incorporated within the building. So I urge the commission to engage in those discussions also. All right.
Good, Carlos. Thank you. It's a lot of info and a lot to go through. Does anybody have any questions for Carlos at this point in time? Seeing none, I think it'd be great if we could hear from the petitioner.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, good evening. My name is Brandon Harp. I'm a principal at Civil Engineering Design Consultants. I'm the,
Brandon, real quickly, I'll give you the remote so you
Okay.
can control on
It's-
that
And
slide.
state your address, if you don't mind,
Thank you, Brandon.
if you haven't done so already.
my address is 10820 Sunset Office Park, St. Louis, Missouri, 63127.
Thank you.
I'm the engineer of record, civil engineer for this project, Aldi. With me here tonight is Vern Wannenberg, who is the director of real estate. Oops. Let's see, do I change with?
You know what, let me bring, Kyle up first. I think I messed you up when I
Okay.
was gonna, one of their representatives, also. Kyle, I'm gonna transfer you over as a panelist. That should give you the ability to also speak. Okay, Brandon, I believe you should have full control now. No? Make sure I left it, on the left-hand side that it is on. Maybe I turned it off.
It was on,
better.
yeah.
There you go.
Okay,
sir.
thank you.
Sorry about that.
Whoops. So also, the team members, design team members working on this project, Randy Martis with Landscape Technologies, he's a landscape architect here in the St. Louis area, as well as the architect Keo Taka Muho. She's on the Zoom connection. She's with SGA Design Group, and she is the architect for Aldi. Thanks for having us tonight. We really appreciate having the opportunity to have a discussion on this project. Very excited about moving forward with this. 9175 Olive Crossing. If there's anything in specific you want to ask us, Mr. Trejo gave a detailed presentation. I don't want to be repetitive of what he already presented. I did have a full presentation. A lot of it he already covered. So again, I don't want to be repetitive, but we're happy to focus on any issues that you maybe want to discuss or any key points.
I think if you can go through kind of your presentation.
Okay.
May not have to go into much detail if it's already been covered, but at least would like to hear what you have to say.
Sure.
My left is you.
Good.
Not working? Sorry, sir.
Can you-
Yes, I can control.
Okay, so as Mr. Trejo already indicated, we're the MU District Plan Development for Alway Gateway Plan Development District. We're gonna be combining the two lots for 2.26 acres for a combined lot at the southeast corner of Olive and Price. Currently, the site, as you know, has the infrastructure in place, but the site is just a graded pad at this point. That's the latest aerial photo allow on Google, but obviously the apartment building to the south of that is constructed, and we're the property just there at the upper left-hand corner of that graded area, showing the construction activity. Just was going to talk through the city zoning map. I don't want to be repetitive, so we can go to the next slide. This is our site plan, proposed site plan as it sits on the property in relationship to the adjoining properties and uses. As you can see, the building, approximately 20,000 square feet, is sitting there in the upper left corner of those combined lots at the northwest corner of the entire development and the southeast corner of Olive and Price. The building is tucked up into the upper left corner. We're as close as we can get to Olive in accordance with Ameren and their clearance requirements to the overhead electric conductors along Olive and along Price. There's significant utility easements along there as well. So we're up as close as we can into the upper left corner. We can't move it any further. You can see the building sits. The main pedestrian or customer entry into the building is the lower right corner. It's a corner entry with a tower, and that's at the lower right corner of that yellow outline of the building. And to the south of the building, there's the ADA parking spaces. And then to the right is the remaining of the parking field, which is 95 parking spaces total. And we have 3 driveways proposed on the internal street. Nothing's proposed directly onto Price or onto Olive. The 3 internal driveways, the main customer entrances would be the middle and the one on the right, which serve the main parking field. The driveway on the left would mostly be for delivery access. Typically, a building like this would have 1 truck delivery per day. And so you'd have a truck coming in and coming into the site, and then backing into the dock, and then pulling back out. And that was just, depicted earlier on an exhibit that he mentioned how our truck circulation moved, which is also shown here. So coming off of Olive, coming south on Price, left in, go into the parking lot and do a backing into the dock, and then come out. And the truck can make the turn over to Hilltop, or it can actually make a turn to come back out onto Price, whichever way the truck driver wants to make that turn. If you go back to the site plan, please. So again, there's the corner tower element. You see there's the double doors that face to the right or to the east, which faces the main parking field. The protected shopping cart area is along the building with a screen wall in front of it. And we do have a sidewalk that goes off to the north, and it's angled like that because of the topography. As you know, Olive Boulevard drops pretty significantly from Price to Hilltop, maybe 10, 12 feet. So the building is situated just a little bit below Olive Street in the upper left corner. And obviously the building is level going across the building, and then the parking lot falls off at 3% slope from west to east. And due to that topography, that's the reason why we need the retaining wall, which is shown in the dark black line here. That wall is only 3 foot tall, but it does make up the grade difference between our parking lot and the elevation of the sidewalk along Olive. We're not proposing to put any type of fencing or railing on top of that wall, being that it's only 3 foot tall. But we are proposing an evergreen continuous hedge all the way along there that would completely hide the vehicles, which actually sit up higher than Olive. So from those sight lines, you wouldn't even see the bottoms of the cars at all, which I think works really nicely. Also, that area is not really a pedestrian way. There's no parking on that north side of the drive aisle adjacent to that retaining wall. So when customers come in and park anywhere in the parking lot, they're going to go straight to the door, not off that way. So it's just a 3 foot high wall. It's going to match very similar to what the CVS has across the street. That wall is also about 3 foot tall. So it's going to kind of mirror that same look on this side, which I think will look pretty nice. And the color and texture, this picture doesn't really do it much good of what the wall really looks like, but it's actually a very nice looking retaining wall. So we propose to match that. As Carlos mentioned, in the upper left corner of the building, that is, and I mentioned with the truck maneuvering, that is the dock area that is recessed down 4 feet from the adjoining grade, and there is a wall on that left side. So that area is all sub-grade from Price Road. The trash area is back there. It's just a single dumpster. There is a screen in front of it, but it is blocked by the wall on the left, the wall on the north, which is the dock wall, and then the building to the right. So we put a gate in front of it, and the trash area is not visible at all because basically screened on all 4 sides at that point.
How tall is that wall?
It's 4 feet.
4 feet. Okay.
Yeah, and then it sticks up a couple feet above that. So it's 4 feet below grade, and then it sticks up a couple feet above that. The city, per the master plan and working with the public spaces, in that upper left corner, that curved dark line, that is that accent wall that was shown on the rendering earlier. That's a 5 foot high wall that would say Olive Crossing as an entrance into this overall development. We were asked by staff to look at some type of physical component in addition to softscape and landscape along that Price frontage to more delineate the commercial development with the Price Road right-of-way corridor. And with that, you can see there's a vertical line coming off of that arc that goes from the arc to the south that covers the frontage of that building. That has not really been completely well defined. The idea here is to mimic what the overall developer is doing with some of this same type of treatments on other parts of the development that I do not believe has been formally approved or submitted to the city yet. But we wanted to piggyback on with that and hopefully work with just staff to come up with what that look would be, and then match have the development, have some continuity and match what's happening on the other part of the development. So it would be, what the architect for the overall development is thinking that this would be some type of metal panel, decorative type of metal panel system, and then a railing or some type of fencing between that, maybe like a black anodized for the exhibit that I mentioned there, some type of railing, maybe like that. Maybe every 20, 30 feet, there would be an accent panel that would kind of break that up. But as you can see on the landscape plan, enlarged area that we showed there on the left, that is mixed in with a significant amount of mostly evergreen type plantings in that area. So I think with that physical kind of system and with the softscape system through here, I think it's gonna be a really nice look coming down price to really realize that this is the back of the building. But I think with the architectural elements that have been added to that west elevation with the window and with this component here, I think it's gonna create a very nice look along Price Road.
You didn't submit a rendering of that side, did you?
There is on the lower elevation here is a black and white. On the perspective view, it does show that, but on the perspective view, it does not show I don't believe it shows the window, because that was added based on some city comments we received. We can go back to that. So,
There were two, there was a
let's
separate.
see. Yeah, so right here. So this is the rendering of, and we did get the window in there. So this is a perspective looking southeast from the north side of Olive back into the Olive Crossing development. And you can see that 5-foot high accent wall. And then to the right of that, beyond that silver car, is kind of this fence kind of pier system as it goes down. We don't have the landscape, we don't have the landscaping projected into this at this point, but you can see the architectural of the building, which would be the Aldi sign, which is 9 by 6 feet. And then the window at the direction of staff to kind of work with that side to make it look more facing Price was to bring those windows around. And the wall that you see the window on, that is a short wall that sticks out from the wall back behind the dock. So the wall to the right of those windows is back about 30 feet from that front wall. So there is an articulation with the face of that wall because of the dock area is in between there. And you can see how the dock and everything sits lower than the grade in that area where the loading is and where the trash is.
Go ahead, Carol. Oh, sorry.
No.
The windows there, those aren't real windows, are they?
They're actually real.
Back of the building?
They're real glass,
real
but
glass.
there's nothing behind them, so you're not going to see in the building. It'll be
Okay.
a dark tinted glass,
Mhm.
so you won't be able to see in there. But it's not open to sunlight into the store.
Okay, so we're looking at the Olive Street side's gonna be the back of the building. So when we're seeing those windows.
Well, the Olive
Am I-
Street side will be what we would call the side or one of the fronts. The building really has 4 sides
Okay,
because you've got activity on all 4 sides.
okay,
So it's what we call a 4-sided building, and usually it's very common that we try to treat each side and keep the level of material similar on all 4 sides when we have a 4-sided building. So this would be the north elevation, which would face Olive,
okay,
and you can see the window and the architectural articulation and pattern as it goes along the building face, with the tower at that northeast corner. And then as you curl around to the right side of that window continues on that short wall for the dock bump out.
okay. Okay, so those are glass.
Yes.
But no sun's gonna come through. We're not gonna have. There's gonna be no sun or any, natural green light coming through these windows at all.
Well, based on the use of what's happening in the building with shelving and dock space and things like that, no.
That's a warehouse space
I
right
think
behind it.
she's asking about the overall windows that
Yeah,
aren't spanned
yeah, I mean,
glass through there. In like the front of the store and the back. of the
Well,
store.
in the front where the doorways are, that's obviously glass. But these are not open windows to look in.
Yeah, but
no
on
sunlight comes
on
in
that
those.
front elevation, is that all glass that you will see through, or is that spandrel glass?
Yeah, you don't see through it.
You don't see it through any of
No.
that besides your front doors?
Correct.
Good.
Okay.
Has Aldi ever had a store that had glass? More glass?
Vern Windenberg, Director of Real Estate, 2683 Whitetail Lane, out in Fallon. Yes, we have had some like that. It's an architectural feature that really adds a lot of dimension to the exterior of our buildings. It's really, I think it's really beautiful with that.
I'd love to see some photos or that, or some examples.
Okay.
To see, because I think that would be a pretty good idea,
Mhm.
you know, be very.
Now, the front of the short wall, yes, those are windows. You're gonna be able to see through that. That's where our sacking counter is gonna end up being at. So, yeah, you're gonna, if you flip around.
Not that view.
Right, it's in the front facing
Yeah,
the
yeah.
parking lot.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Correct,
But not the long wall that we're looking at here.
correct,
Where the carts are gonna be at.
correct, right.
One of the items that's in your packet is the actual floor plan.
Mhm.
Urge you to take a look at that, or I can bring that up and kind of explains what, what are those areas behind those spaces? And there, some of those are limited to the need for light. That's the back of the coolers area and things of. this
And
nature.
Kyle, the architect who designed this, is on the call, so if she can maybe articulate this maybe even a little better of how that glass is designed and what the materials are, Kyle?
He's gonna bring her own.
But she's on. But I know there's two different things. And there, Kyle, we can see you, but I'm not sure. I think you're also on the phone. And hopefully
Hopefully
you're
you cleared
accessible
it.
now. Ah, there we go. Kyle, you should be, your audio should be working now. Kyle, just to let you know, we can see your hand. It looks like your mic is unmuted, but for some reason, we're not getting any audio.
While we're waiting, I
Yes.
do have a quick question.
Sure.
About, the rendering that was shown, looking south, east, where the truck was in the bay.
Yes.
You could still see the truck. Did that have that 4-foot wall above the foundation?
Yeah, I don't think that truck is an accurate representation. That truck looks very high.
That's what I was curious about. If
Yeah,
there was
because-
that 4-foot wall on top,
Yeah, because this can be 4 feet down.
4 feet down.
And then
four
how
foot
far
up.
the wall sticks up above, it's a couple feet above the grade, that wall comes up above that, almost exactly 4, it's a couple feet, there's but that truck looked tall in that photo.
Yeah, I'm very curious of how that's gonna look, especially with, people driving, along Price and Olive and just seeing that truck there.
Yeah, I would just refresh that they typically get about one delivery a day, so the truck is not parked there all day long. It's a delivery comes in, they unload and they take off. And so there's not a truck sitting there all day long.
Makes sense.
It's just a delivery.
Yeah, I agree. I'd like to get a better sense of that.
I would definitely like to see some other views, especially from like looking, I guess it would be northeast, kind of at all sides. Like you said, this is a 4-sided, building, trying to get better views, all the way around.
Yeah, I mean, we could provide sight lines that show actually all the landscaping in there as well.
No, that'd be
That-
great.
That would be,
It's significant landscaping, which is really gonna cover that whole area.
Yeah.
It's very dense,
That-
so.
that would be
That'd be
great.
Yeah,
Great.
so you won't even see the truck.
Right.
That's, we'd like that. back.
Invisible.
Right.
You said one, that at one point it said one truck delivery a day.
Generally, yes.
So this rendering right here, this looks like a very substantial curve. Is that supposed to be price?
Yeah, that's right at price and all.
Yeah, I mean, that looks, something just doesn't look,
Well, it's I'd have to look at the site.
it's like
plan
a
itself.
fisheye lens
It's
or
an artistic
something.
rendering of, that's the radius of northbound Price to eastbound Olive. So it's a curve in the radius to make that turn. I would assume it's fairly accurate because they take our survey and implement that into it.
I see where you're
Yeah.
talking
I
about.
don't know. I drive that every day.
It's, yeah, I used to live right there now, but it does, you're correct, it looks off.
Actually, there is a little.
There's a
bit of
little curve. There
right
is a
now,
little curve.
because
It's like,
the turning one, so.
It looks like a lot of.
it's like the view got skewed. It's, you know,
Perspective.
It looks like there's too much. curves.
I think it's close. I don't think it's way off. Looking at the survey and we could double check that. And if, you know, if you look at the, the landscape plan, that's a clean plan that shows that radius there. Or even, in the aerial photo may show it well.
curvature here.
So that's a very nice render, you know.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But we'll double check that, and make sure it's presented accurately. I don't think it's far off though.
And that future expansion, is that going to be another loading dock or is that for potential for building expansion?
It's future potential building.
Okay.
So we're hoping that when we open up, we're gonna do really well. We will. And then in the future years, we'll be evaluating that and then we can expand. That's just our area. So we've already got that as a future foresight to do
Great.
that.
We hope you can expand too.
Right.
Unless you having any luck.
No, Kyle, it shows that you're unmuted. We also have a 317 area code phone in there, but that one's muted. I'm not sure if that's.
And we've asked it to unmute and it won't do anything.
Any way we could call her,
Yeah, I can call it.
and I'm not
Turn-
sure how we can
I'll kind of-
connect that in, put it on speaker and put the.
The mic,
Yeah,
right
yeah.
by the mic, yes.
We have to
Kyle, it's
get
Brady.
creative.
No, your mic shows that it's muted.
No, it's not muted.
Okay, let me see if I can put you on speaker and then into the mic. They were wanting just a better explanation that I could do regarding the glazing around the building. Okay. Okay, you're on.
Hello, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yes, great, thank you.
All right, great. Sorry for the inconvenience. I can hear you guys fine, but I don't think anybody hears me. So, okay, so glazing, that was a question. Did I hear it correctly that you want to see more articulation in glazing? Or you want to see non-spandrel, like clear glass?
Kyle, I think the first thing is to just explain what the systems are, what the glazing systems are around the building, so they understand that first.
Okay, sure, I can do that. So let's look at the slide that's on the screen right now. We're looking at the sloped roof facade. The two black rectangles, there we go. These are clear glass. So people can see through in and out. And then daylight will come in also.
Ah, great.
And then yeah, there we go. So that corresponds to what Warren had said earlier. That's a stacking counter. And that's appropriate because that's adjacent to the entry. People want to see where they're going into. Now moving towards north
Real quick, I got a
on the
quick
same
question.
rendering.
The chairman has a question for you.
Where that locations that you said the glass was gonna be coming through, that's also right where the carts are? Is that a lower height or how is that going to work?
I'm sorry, I can't.
His question was the clear glass next to the cart corral. How high is the glass in relation to the cart corral?
Okay. They're higher than the top of carts typically. Think about 3'4" or so. And top of the windows is I think 10 feet.
Okay,
So
so that's an open, yeah. go
Yeah,
ahead.
so that wall in front of the cart, how tall is that wall that's hiding that corral?
How tall is the wall adjacent to the cart corral?
The wall adjacent to the cart corral, I can show you. That is,
It's right here. You can see
Yeah.
the top of the,
well, the masonry wall is 18.8.
Okay.
But are we asking about the sloped wall, with the sloped roof?
No, we're asked I was under the impression that that was almost going to be like a full height from the ground to the roof line. So that's why I didn't think.
Oh, no, okay, the answer is no. You can see in the front elevation that's on the screen right now, adjacent to the entryway, the letter C, that's about the longest window that we will have. So, but it terminates at the bottom of the entry canopy. So if you're a customer walking in and out, you have this illusion that the window is extending all the way to top.
Gotcha. And then I assume that little half wall or 3-foot high wall is gonna cover all the carts. We're not gonna see carts sticking up.
That's correct.
Okay, good.
The masonry wall
Is there an overhang on top of that
Yes.
cart corral?
Yeah, the canopy.
and you can see the canopy here, and then the card sections here.
Okay.
And then there's the masonry wall, I believe. Or no,
Yeah, it's right there. Yeah, that's a bollard.
there you go.
I think most of the time I've been to Aldi's, they've had it inside the store, the cart corrals. So that's the reason why I was.
We've got a few stores in the metropolitan area that have it, but the majority are outside.
We're outside. Okay.
Okay.
And also kind of expand on what you were saying too. It's like, we've got the windows there, but when you're at the stacking table, we have an open ceiling. So it actually will go up another probably 8 to 10 feet above, on top of that. So you get this really airy feeling when you get in that front.
Speaking of which, how high is do you guys have a parapet on the building?
In certain sections, yes.
Where's your HVAC equipment going?
Let's see. Hey Kyle, you want to take that one?
Where's the HVAC unit in relation to the roof?
So HVAC, that would be towards the back of the store, so they will be closer to the Olive Road.
Will we see that from Olive? Will we see the HVAC equipment from Olive?
It depends on how the grading works out. It sounds like there's a significant grading change. And also, since we're adding a new tower towards the left of that one. So that should conceal some from westbound traffic.
Well, I'd like to see more detail about that, because I personally, I don't want traffic to really be able to see that.
Seems like there's good potential to hide it with that sloped roof, but I guess that's not that's not a wall that's opened on the inside, correct? In this, again.
Oh, on the other side?
Yeah.
That's on by the apartment.
Yeah. Okay.
Side.
There's quite a bit, there'll be, I assume, quite a bit of equipment up there with all the coolers and everything like that.
Yeah, we'll have a few rooftop units up there.
Yes.
For that, yes. But it won't be right on Olive, so it's gonna be like in the middle of the building. So with our elevation as high as we are, I mean, we could work out a rendering for you to look at that.
Very good.
So a person like on the sidewalk,
Yeah.
would see exactly something that you would actually see.
I think that would be great.
Yeah, yeah, I
I
probably.
think that would be great.
How about the downspouts along the olive side?
The downspouts?
Yeah, the scuppers and downspouts. Um,
They're in the, yeah, the, what we call the side elevation where the cursor is right now. So primary scuppers will be taken down to stone. You can see the long rectangle, and then overflow scupper is adjacent to it.
So, you know, I'm kind of torn on this, you know, sometimes I like seeing them because it adds a little, you know, rhythm to the elevation, but we've seen this before on a couple other properties. Right, Firestone, exactly, you know, and I'm not crazy about it. I'm wondering if there's any other options here, either draining to a different facade or through the building. That way we don't have to see the downspouts from Olive.
We would have to get back to you on that.
And our downspouts look nice. I mean, that's not gonna help you there. I see where you're coming from, on that, yeah. 'Cause
I mean,
too, and it's not exactly very pleasing.
Right, you know, I see it from all sides. As an architect, I like to, you know, celebrate building systems and everything.
Right.
But at the same time, you know.
What don't you like about the Firestone?
I would say that probably because the way the building is sited, typically those would have been on the back of the building. So the way when we push the buildings towards the street, this could just be collateral damage. I don't know.
That's, I mean, it's looking at the different faces, this is probably the best face to have.
Right, that's why I'm asking the question, are there any other options? Can we go, you know?
Yeah, it's just like our prototype design.
Right, kind of figured.
Yeah, so that would have to, we'd have to figure that out if we did go a different path internally, or not, but, yeah, so.
Do we know whether, are they tied into anything? Are they?
Yeah,
daylight?
yeah, we pick them up and pipe it underground.
Okay.
Right, so you won't see anything like that.
May I ask Carlos to make the 317 number a panelist? I think that's the confusion.
He did.
Yes, I'll try again here.
Hold your ears in case we get the back.
It already has permission to talk.
Yeah, it's. I'm clicking it and asking you to unmute. And it won't give me the ability to bring you up.
I don't have I can't. Never mind. I guess this is as good as it gets.
You might have to put in an audio pin.
Yeah. One option if you want to reconnect. And there, and see if that helps. Try a *6 on your cell phone.
Okay. Did anything change?
No luck.
Okay.
Thanks for checking.
Just so, you know, lean into the microphone. When you, Danny, when you talk about scuppers on the north side, that's where on lot 3, the retail building that we have the building permit on, that's where the scuppers are as well. So it might actually make sense since they're there. And we're piping everything into the storm system, just for reference.
Continuity.
We already have them on that. We haven't built the building yet, but it's on the plans. So I just
Right.
wanted you to know.
Good to know.
I know we kind of hijacked your presentation with questions, and I
Oh, no,
apologize.
This is really just where we're at in the architectural portion.
Yeah.
What we had left was, I think we walked through, let me go back and talk about the striped area. Carlos mentioned that, and he mentioned that, earlier on our first submittal as well. On our first submittal, we actually had, the striped area was 5 feet wider. Let me back up. So you can see the building and you see on the right side of the building and the bottom or the south side of the building, you see parking spaces, then you see white or yellow stripes. In the lower left corner of the building, that striping there is needed for the truck circulation. The truck needs that area to pull into that entrance and maneuver. If we didn't need that, we would be parking that whole area with parking, but we need that area for the truck. The area to the right side and on the lower right of the corner, that is an Aldi prototype, and it's a safe refuge area. It's basically where you come out of the store with your cart and you walk out under the canopy from the concrete and immediately onto that refuge area. We don't want to come out of that concrete area under the canopy and walk right into a drive lane. And what happens on Aldi is that you put a deposit in for your cart, so everybody takes their cart back. So that's why we don't show a cart corral station in the parking lot. Everybody takes their cart back. So you have a lot of back and forth with people holding carts, carrying their kids with them, everything. So we have this area of refuge, a safe area where you can come out before you get into that drive lane. So it was 5 feet wider on our first submittal. We narrowed it up by 5 feet and we increased the landscaped islands by that 5 feet. So we made it smaller to help address the concern of that open concrete area, but it needs to be an area of ADA accessibility, needs to handle the shopping cart pushing, needs to be a smooth surface, heel proof, et cetera, et cetera. And so again, that's the area of basically it's a safe refuge area. It's a mandatory requirement with Aldi to have that. It's on every store we build. And we put a no parking stencil on the ground there as well. So it's a good area for emergency response, but it's mostly there for a safe area of refuge for the people coming in and out with carts, especially on the busy times. You have just a line of people come in, a line of people get the carts everywhere, and you're not out the drive aisle doing that. So that's what that's for.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you get people pulling into that area to drop people off? And is that,
Yes, we do.
yeah.
I'm gonna be honest with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do. And a lot of it is people that, my mom's 87 years old. She shops up in Florida. Have I done it with her? Yeah, she doesn't get around very well.
Right.
But yeah, not very often though, but we do it.
I assume it's all gonna be white paint?
Typically do yellow.
Yellow, okay.
Yeah.
It's a lot of paint.
Pardon me?
It's a lot of paint.
Yeah. And it's something that we really kind of value our customers, when they're coming out there. I hate to say it, people drive fast these days. And it's a parking lot, they should. I'm in our stores all the time and I see it and I'm going, slow down. But it's not with somebody, one person.
No, that's a good point. It's a good point.
And now I'll add on to the commission on here because I've seen, and I can show you 3 or 4 different Audis who've handled it differently. And that is whether through a different texture, or the striping, even our neighbor down here has a different texture for that buffer. I understand the buffer, but that's a pretty extensive width of asphalt and striping in there. And again, I'll leave it to the commission, but I think there are better ways to design that. I'm not a designer, but I can show you what some of the other sites have done. I just think that the
Aldi
striping is,
sites?
pardon?
Aldi sites?
Yes. Mhm.
Yeah, so I'd be curious as to what options you guys have used in the past.
You know, in the past, it's changed. Actually, this is something in our prototype that's just expanded, within the last 3 months. And a lot of times, unfortunately, when stuff like that changes, there was an incident. I don't know if it was, but, they basically, our national listing office up in Springfield, Ohio, basically said, we would like to have it for our customers buffer zone for safety. So when they come right out of our store, they're not getting right in the drive aisle, and that's what we.
I don't think that's the question.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
everybody is
Yeah, okay, so other-
values that, that buffer zone. I think that
Right.
makes a lot of sense. But I think the question is is it gonna be painted, striped asphalt? Or are there other options that might prevent people from pulling in there? Some sort of different texture or,
Got any issues with fire?
Well, again, I'd like to
with
see what you
access.
have here, but you're pushing carts, full carts,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
walking with carts and that's just asphalt.
And they don't
Yeah.
have all the stripes there.
See, what the difference between this one and the other one is on the one here in Outlet, we have curbside parking now. From COVID now, we put the curbside pickup. So there's 4 spaces on this short wall on the Olivet plan and then basically stripe it.
I was curious what those spots were.
Yeah, they're curbside pickup.
Right, so you can go online and then order and then
Mhm.
just pull right in, back up, and we'll load it for you.
Yeah. Go ahead, Kurt.
And I was thinking that some type of raised surface for that safety area would be nice, but then I started thinking, well, my mom's over 90 and
Her
she uses a
hazards.
walker.
Yeah.
And, and sometimes it's a wheelchair. And
Mhm.
a smooth surface is much better for her
Mhm.
than a raised surface of any type, really. So, and while I think aesthetically, I'd like to see, pavers or something else there to kind of mark it off. I know in my mom's case, the flatter it is, the safer she is. And so that's kind of the hard trade-off.
Yeah, and the depiction of the stripe, I know it's the pavement's there. The depiction of the striping is on that exhibit shown a little dense. The stripes aren't only a foot apart. They're more like 3 feet apart. So it's
Yeah,
not that much paint as much as it looks on my colored rendering. And that's just a graphical thing.
Right.
But you can see on this one, on that right side, that east short wall, there's the curbside pickup 4 spaces up there on the upper right. And then we just kept that 19-foot down because we don't put parking in front of the cart corral. Because customers tend to cut angles. They typically don't tend to walk 90 degrees across a drive aisle and they cut angled. So if you don't have that striping there for the car parking on the north side, then they're going to be pushing carts down two-way traffic lane.
Exactly.
And we try to get them over and out of there as quickly as possible over to the front of the store. So if you look at all the new stores we're doing right now, which is a lot all over Missouri, Illinois, and Arkansas, this point of refuge is on 100% of the stores we're doing.
I love the idea of the refuge area. I think that's really nice. I'm wondering, instead of painting it, if it was a different material, like even if it was concrete, so it was still really flat. Just something to differentiate it other than paint.
Well, I think.
Yeah, I mean, they were gonna be, could it be a wide sidewalk here that served the same, and still serve the same purpose? Or, Tim, you have an idea?
So have you guys tried just bollards, like planter bollards out there to make it look good? I mean,
Well, there are bollards, as you go from the asphalt to the concrete sidewalk in front, there are bollards there so a car can't run into the front of the building. But again, we want nice accessibility in each direction and numerous people passing each other with carts. And so if you create just planters, just little openings, then everybody's trying to filter through a small area. And you may have, 6 people coming out at one time and 6 people come in at one time or more than that, holding full carts and with children with them, and you can't ask them to funnel through a little area because they're coming from all different directions on the parking lot. I think without striping it, I think you kind of still have some of the danger because if you're driving, if it's night, if it's raining, there's snow, cars see pavement and they don't know where to go. With the striping and the no parking, it's pretty well delineated, in the field. Again, the striping doesn't have to be, it's not proposed to be as dense as what I showed in the exhibit. That was not a good articulation of how it's really striped. The spaces are gonna be more, or the stripes are gonna be like 3 feet apart.
Yeah.
So, Carlos, can you go back to that picture real fast, please? So why can't the concrete be brought out and then put those bollards out there instead of closer to the building?
We still have the same amount of concrete.
What'd you say?
You're still gonna have the same amount of pavement.
Well, it would delineate, instead of delineated next to the building under the canopy, you'd bring it out to where you want to have the refugee. I mean,
So
they
you
still have to go past every bollard just like it was before.
But I thought the concern was the amount of pavement.
I think it's about the striping and
Was
I
that-
think
it's just the
that, I think
striping?
that,
It's the striping.
am I right about that? It's
That-
the striping that
that's
everybody's
fine.
I thought it was the amount of, I thought it was the amount of
I'm not-
pavement.
I,
delineating and doing what you guys are saying, just not with all the striping. I think that's the part of the question.
Reducing the amount of striping?
Reducing how much striping there is by creating a differential, just like what you guys are talking about with concrete and bringing those bollards out to the top of that.
right, so instead of, it being parking lot, asphalt pavement, like the parking lot, you could do concrete and have the refuge area be concrete sidewalks, which differentiates.
So you're
in that
saying
way.
basically putting bollards all along the interface of the striping in the driveway?
Well, right. I mean, if I looked at that picture of the other one that you had up, had bollards going through it. You want to show them maybe? Yeah, we said, and we bring that out to where the yellow line is, which is your area of refugee, and just bring that whole entire part out.
Kind of like the
Right.
ballards recessed though, personally. I like the idea of the pavement, sidewalk pavement going out.
I personally don't think that's enough to delineate, just like what you're saying. I like what you guys are saying about making sure that, you know not to go in that area.
Yeah, I like
And-
the idea of bringing the bollards out. It would make, if I was letting my mama, it would make her feel safer to know that the bollards are behind her when she walks into the store. And she's got that little bit of room to maneuver.
Would that be an issue with the fire department?
No, I mean, in our discussions with them, the striping has no intent with the,
No, if we
Moving the
put the
bollards.
ballards out to the perimeter of the striping,
the truck is not gonna park up against the building. It keeps typically that height. They keep a distance, that's
Mhm.
equal, horizontally from that vertical height. So if the wall were to collapse, the truck's not there. And I know this is a shorter building, but their intent is to be a distance from them.
Tim, I kind of like that idea.
I think they should come back to us, with an idea and, what our concerns is and see what they have to
So
say.
your concern is not the amount of pavement at all. It's you don't want to see striping.
It's
Striping everywhere, a
striping,
lot of
right.
striping is what.
I definitely don't like the fact that it's just all asphalt pavement, looking at this picture, that you have asphalt painting with that area restricted. It would be a nicer look if it was like sidewalk or concrete or some other smooth surface.
Yeah, how far would you want that out? The concrete out from the sidewalk?
Probably to that line.
So your refuge area would just be big sidewalk.
I guess what's the cost
Right.
differential?
But no but moving the bollards out.
Move the bollards out, right?
Out to the edge of the.
I'm concerned cars are gonna hit the ballots bringing them out that far.
That's
Yeah, I
what
mean,
you
it's
want
a-
instead of the person. That's what you want instead of the person.
The striping has achieved its purpose.
But
Going
you're
out that
losing,
far.
you're losing the flexibility of the easy drop off.
Well, again,
Well-
it doesn't happen that often.
Okay.
It,
So,
we're more concerned about aesthetics. You know,
Yeah,
what it's
well,
gonna look like.
yeah,
So-
if we bring it out that far, I'd be concerned about people actually hitting the ballots.
Or maybe
I-
put the ballards back like 3 feet, so it looks almost like like a sidewalk, you know, in front. But then the
Yeah.
ballards are further out.
Because we don't have any other store that the ballot drop that far. They're right at the sidewalk.
The concern from from a planning perspective is that, and I understand the placement of the ballards. I think, you know, in there, if some of the intent of this is for somebody to drop off, somebody that has some mobility issues, you don't want the ballards in that.
Right.
It's a transition area. And what's
Yeah.
being done here is for the purposes of that transition area, they're using striping, and that, to me, that's the concern. Those transition areas can be done with some different material. I understand that the purpose and what the need is, and it doesn't have, you know, you have these carts and you don't want them, you know, jumping up and down as you're going through. But if it's gonna be a transition area, you know, identify it as a transition area, not just by striping.
No parking laws, I think versus striping.
No. Transition it through the use of a different material, and that could be an extension of that concrete to define it. The bollards can stay there, but that concrete extends out and identifies the drive aisle, the transition, and the bollards identify the entry.
If it's okay with you, Mr. Chairman, we can go back and let's think through some things.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think we understand some of the dynamics. Let us think through it.
Yeah, yeah.
That'd be great.
And we'll try to come back with a few options. With some renderings and photos and see what we can come up with.
Yeah. I think
Super.
that's great.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I just had a question. So I see 95 parking spaces. What's like your typical for a store around here?
It's 95 minimum on any new Aldi store, 95 minimum, and we go up to 110, 115, just really depends on the store location, but if you're an isolated store with nothing around you, you're gonna want maybe a little more. If you're within an overall development, maybe you can go down a little less. So it really just varies. I think we're like 15 or 20 over what the city requires.
How many do you have at U City?
I don't know for sure, but we're probably in the 90s there too.
Okay.
One thing we didn't talk about is the signage, and maybe this is something for the overall development, but the main, I guess the main entrance off of Olive into the area. Are you going to just mimic? Yeah. Are you going to mimic kind of the signage that you have on Price and Olive at your kind of main entrance into the development?
So, yeah, so you're talking about the Hilltop and Olive Corner, you're talking about this one in the right photo there? You're talking about the upper right photo?
Correct.
Yes, so a couple thoughts there. So, and I've talked to Carlos about this, so that number one, we already have at the next intersection, which is where the on-ramp is, right? The real actual beginning of our project is where we have the raised patio wall that says, welcome to Olivet. We have the pedestrian. So we're sort of delineating, hey, you've come to Olivet as soon as you cross underneath the highway.
Right.
As to this corner, what I've talked to Carlos about is we want some sort of demarcation sign, something that lets you know you're in Olivet. There are a couple of physical challenges, and what I've asked Carlos is, I'll take responsibility for working with the city to do something here, but if we can go to a top-down, like the site plan, what I want to point out is, that'll work perfect. So you see the angled, there we go, let's do this. Okay, so the challenge that we just have to figure out, and I haven't had a lot of time to work on this, and what I said to Carlos is, I think this is a development entity responsibility, not for Aldi, is we have very limited space from that angle of the retaining wall, which is just northeast of where their monument sign is proposed, between there and the actual pavement of the Centennial Greenway turn. It's really tight and there's a grade there. So the property line, there might be, I don't know on that scale, there might be 18 inches to 2 feet of space on a downgrade. And then we hit MoDOT's right of way. Well, I can't put the sign in MoDOT's right of way unless I get permission, which is going to take some time. And I'm not averse to asking them because we made this very large landing area for pedestrians. So I think it's something that the city and I need to work on what goes there, but there's not a lot of opportunity because there's no space. Because of the ramp up of the grade to get to their lot, it's sort of, it's a tight little area. So the answer is, yes, something needs to go there. It's not gonna look like the east side that says welcome to Olivet. It's not gonna look like the Olive Crossing or the Price Crossing. It's gotta be something else. And we've got to navigate the geometric challenges.
Could you incorporate it into the retaining wall?
I think, and based on chapter, I'm gonna go back to what the city's adopted under chapter 428. And I'm not gonna design this because I would come up with something pretty extravagant. But it has to be a focal feature. While I understand the entry into all of that and the purpose of that, as I was identified in the developers agreement, this is a separate node. This node is important because it connects the north side of the city with the south side of the city. That was part of this request for proposals, part of the process, and something that we've been talking through this process, and we're going to get to it, and understanding the phasing of how development works, it's there. But now we're there. This corner is here, and it is an important corner. I'm not stressing it because it's important to me. I'm stressing it because it was important to the council and it was important to the commission, and it was identified in the comprehensive plan in there. What it should be, I don't know. It could be a tower. It could be, it needs some verticality, some type of 3-dimension. It's really the hook that gets the north side interconnected with this development.
So here's the challenge. Go back to the site plan, please.
And it is a complex site because if you look at everything that is here in that process, and you look at what, bear with me 1 second here, everything that is here, in no way that we ever had that discussion that this was going to be easy.
Right.
In there, but there is a function of all the utilities in here. The obstacles of the site plan here, this is being before you today and as proposed as a design. I mean, that's what's causing the constriction. It's this design. I understand the constrictions that are in place along the corridor, but you're overlapping this design right now, constricting that space more. And that's a voluntary thing that
I'm going to point something out. If we pull the site back, so the only way to pick up more space to put a tower, which I'm sorry, but I'll disagree.
It doesn't have to be a tower. Again, I'm not trying to.
To take up a lot of 2-dimensional space at this corner after we already worked with GRG to put the turn there, which wasn't there originally when we did this deal. If we pick up space, they have to pull their lot back.
Again, it's a function.
And reduce parking. So we can cut into their lot, but Carlos, I'm going to respectfully disagree. When this project was contemplated, we didn't have all the space that we had to give up for the Centennial Greenway and the 12-foot sidewalks on the east and the 8-foot on the west and the overly large turn to the north. That wasn't around in 2015.
This is the developers agreement that was adopted.
Which version?
This is the initial developers agreement and the exhibits that were adopted.
And there were 4 drive-throughs in this plan. This is not the same project I presented in 2015. And I would argue that the trade-off of getting a grosser and the added density and taking away what maybe was a focal feature when we have a focal feature on the east end of Olive Crossing and now on the west end at Price.
Mhm.
We have focal features on both. I mean, I can ask Aldi to cut back their parking spaces, make their lots smaller. There's no space.
And I understand that, but again, the intent is, and not to, it's not about reducing the size of the parking. It is probably a stall.
So, but would,
At the
and my,
most.
my point being, it would sit up in their parking lot.
Why not put it just radius?
Well, because that affects the ability for people to turn their cars. They're gonna have to cut back the amount of parking.
Nobody's gonna pull right up to that corner. They're gonna turn. So if you can do it just like a regular turn.
Yeah, Laura.
So I just wanted to say, because I lived in the Hilltop neighborhood for 40+ years.
Oh, yeah.
If you want people from that neighborhood to walk over, and you need to have something there to include them. They already feel left out in that part of the south side of Olive. So I think having something there that delineates, like, here's Hilltop and it's welcoming would be huge. To get those
But it's
neighbors
there,
to come
right?
there,
The,
not like.
the
the-
Centennial Greenway path is there that leads
it
right to the
is,
project.
But they don't, the people over in that neighborhood, that crosswalk in slide 15, now that it has those green stripes, I think that looks great. And I moved 2 years ago
Mhm.
to another area in Olivet. But that crossing, because I used to cross it and then I would go over to the Greenway and walk over to Shaw Park. That crossing is incredibly dangerous and very, very short to make it across Olive.
Yes.
Like, very short, like you blink and it's done. I can't tell you how many times my husband and I have almost been hit, and we're adults crossing, not an adult and a child. And I know that there's neighbors that would use that to go over to get to Aldi's. Like, I would have loved there being a grocery store when my son was younger. Like, I would have loved that. Like,
Right.
hey, like, we'll walk and get a gallon of milk instead of getting in the car and driving somewhere. But I think if you want Hilltop and Brightling and Collingwood to use that area, and part of our plan is to be walkable,
Right.
then we need to make it a landing area over there. Like, when you first cross over, there needs to be something, and not just a retaining wall that you have to either step, 2-3 feet up to get into the parking lot, or go
No, no.
all the way around, or there needs to be some kind of landing area.
There is a Lord. That's my point. So if you go back to this plan, the amount of concrete and landing area at that corner was enlarged to accommodate the turn of the Centennial Greenway. So we took up all that space. The issue being it's all in MoDOT's right of way. And I can't put a sign there. We can try to, my point is, of this discussion is, we need to put something there.
Mhm.
But the images shown in the 2015 version that show a tower element, that's not the right
No,
place for
they
this.
don't show a tower element.
You just showed me an image
They're
of a tower.
examples.
No, that's my point, but I'm saying
Again.
something meaty like that how does something meaty in the middle of the project at a corner? I don't get it. Like, I don't get the architectural appeal of something large right behind the words "now open,"
Yes.
because that's where it has to be.
And that's the emphasis. So if I'm a pedestrian crossing here,
Right.
what I'm gonna see is where it says now open is a retaining wall.
And landscaping, yes.
Yes, and that's it. And it's gonna look no different than this. And is that really what this development is supposed to portray? I think there needs to be something there. It doesn't have to be super tall. It doesn't have to be, I guess what I'm getting to is that it's not this design, it's not defined yet. I
Right.
want to know, when I look across the street there, what am I gonna see there?
All right,
I
so,
don't know
so
yet.
here's the thing. I'll try to come up with a plan. I'll figure out what we can fit in between their lot and the right of way. I really don't want to cut into their parking lot and affect impact vehicle traffic with something decorative up on a hill. And at the same time, I'll come up with a plan. I'll try to give it to you by the next zoning hearing. But if we can't figure this out,
Well, Greg, we haven't gotten that far yet, so.
no,
let's-
I'm just saying.
Let's try and figure it out.
Right,
first.
this was a new request I mean, I know it's in the ordinance, but I was just made aware of this a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, without any definition of what it means. So I'm willing to work, I'm saying I'm taking it off of them. It should be part of the development's responsibility. It's a development requirement. And so my point of what I'm trying to get is two things. Number one, I don't understand what this necessarily means, and I'll try to come up with something. Number two, take it off of them. It goes on me because it shouldn't be their problem. It's a requirement of the development. That's my 2 points is I'm not really clear. I think we have to figure this out. And I've said this to Carlos since it came up. I'm not sure what this is, but what I don't want to do is slow down their process over something that none of us really know what it is yet.
Right.
That's all I'm trying to say.
So
That's
Greg,
fair.
what if you, we understand that and so I think at this point, we don't need to discuss it anymore, but you know that we need to see some.
All right, I'll come up with
And-
something.
And I'm curious about too,
Yeah.
like the rest of the perimeter look. I think there was some talk about, they said they wanted to try to pick up and mimic what you're gonna be doing for the other buildings.
Yeah,
And-
so the wall they're showing on Price Road, we actually just submitted an addendum. Carlos, when did they turn that in?
There was something that came in Monday or Tuesday.
So we've turned in the idea for this, and what we're thinking is using the screen, like the screen wall metal that we're using along the highway where the fountain is, using those as blades in between sections of shorter, like anodized black fencing to sort of break up the visual
Yeah.
along Olive, and then they'll copy that along Price. So there'll be some common language that we're using this metal material in 3 places and the same fencing that we use around the basin. So, and it's in, I haven't given it to them yet. We just submitted it on Monday for Carlos to look at.
Okay. Okay.
So-
And I'm sure it has renderings or,
It's got material details and things like that. And then obviously we have already, as part of our MoDOT permit, which should be closed out soon, right? We have the streetlights, we have the tree grates, we have all of that stuff. The sidewalks are already installed, so.
Right.
Yeah, that stuff's all done. To the point earlier about pedestrian connectivity as part of your review, here's the good news. We built it. It's there. The only pedestrian connectivity not currently in is back to lots 5 and 6 because we haven't started those yet.
Right.
So,
Right.
yeah, that's all.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Does anybody else have anything while I check my notes? The light poles, what they're gonna look like, the heights, I know that you're proposing some higher ones.
Well,
But
the ordinance says 27 feet, so I don't know if we can ask for clarification on that.
Yeah.
I think you said the ordinance said 15 feet.
Ours are restricted by 15 feet. We allowed the interior road network to have an excess height. The whole lot.
Yeah. It's 27, 27, yeah.
Right.
Is every site going to have different types of lights? Yeah. It'd be nice to be able to see what the differences are, what they look like, for continuity within your, the development. There was some talk. Carlos mentioned that you guys are very proud of your sustainability. So I'm curious.
Very much so.
Yeah, I have a screen up here. You can go, Carlos, please, to the right before questions right there.
There we go. I've been with Aldi for 37 years. This is something I've been very proud of our company. Even in the mid-90s, we've been tracking our carbon footprint. I'm just going to go over just a few things here that I'm really, by the end of this year, we're looking at eliminating all the plastic bags in all of our stores in the entire United States. We're looking at saving 4,440 tons of waste there. We've taken all the MSGs and artificial food coloring out of all of our products. No
Okay.
other major retailer's done that.
I'm gonna admit, I've never shopped at Aldi's
Okay.
because I'm all about chemicals, not wanting them.
Right.
Literally, you are telling me now 2 things that I really do not attempt to consume. If I were to go into Aldi's right now I could read every label and I will never see MSG in it or artificial color?
Yes.
Okay.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah. No other retailer's done that. I mean, I could just keep going. I'm gonna just keep going here. The really cool thing is too, is you're looking at the refrigeration system we use, CO2. You know, it's got a carbon footprint of 1. So, you know, we have a leak, guess what? The trees eat it. You know, if it's Freon, and that's really a big issue with our ozone layer right now. Being that. So and to do that, it's an extra cost to do the highly pressurized copper systems to invest in CO2. And as a company, we're the largest retailer that's doing that right now in the United States. EPA gives us the best in class of our climate friendly supermarket scorecard for that. Sustainable packaging. We're looking at being 100% reusable, recyclable, and compostable by 2025. And then if you look at we just got this award here, the most sustainable grocery retailer by Brightly. And you're looking at the top grocers, Aldi with us, Costco, Kroger, Target, Trader Joe's, Walmart, and Whole Foods. We were number 1. So, you know, our lights are LED. Those are kind of simple things now for us. You know, when you go in and go to our water cooler, you got the little thing where you could put your water bottle in there for that. We use a lot of our fixtures. We don't have a lot of them, but you know, it's low pressurized water. So we watch our footprint with everything that we do. And another thing too is, you know, when you look at our stores, we build our stores to last 40 or 50 years. Our GCs have come back and told us, like, why do you spend this much money? It's because we want to minimize our impact. We want to use good materials so that's going to last a long time for that. So it's something that, you know, I'm a scout leader, been a scout leader since 1999, you know, leave no trace. That's really a big thing with our company. I'm very proud of. So I could keep going on and on too with what we're trying to do and our future initiatives with that too. But I just want to bring out some of the bigger items that kind of hit home. Because I think it's great that you ask these questions. I don't get these questions, so when I get the time to do it, I love talking about our company.
So we will have people listening. So if there's anything else in the sustainability that is not on this list that you want to talk about and bring out right now, so that those that will be coming back later to hear this, please expand.
Okay. Well, I didn't bring my expanded list, but you know, a lot of what we're trying to do too is we're trying to get our food waste in our stores. We donate to the food banks. We're trying to get that to like 50 or 60% to reduce our waste. That's another really kind of cool thing that we end up doing for that. One of our fundraisers that we do is for children pediatric cancer. So that it's called Alex's Lemonade Stand. So that's something that we contribute to every year. And we do a lot of fundraising for that. We contribute to that.
I'll just add that the Aldi parking lots are the cleanest parking lots for any grocery store. And it's the whole idea of using the quarter. It's amazing.
Right.
I mean, it really is. And it's also a model of efficiency in terms of how you guys run your operation. And the way the carts are always brought back. You'll never see a cart out just hanging out in the Aldi parking lot.
Right. Yeah. And nobody's trying to mimic that.
Yeah. Surprised.
So you put a quarter in, you get a card.
Right. It locks up and then unlocks. And then what's really kind of funny, it's, you know, when you become an Aldi customer all the time, it's, you know, when somebody's bringing it in, you get your quarter out and give it to them while they're in the parking lot, and then you bring it up. So it's kind of a camaraderie thing.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's an Aldi thing.
Yeah.
You know, for that. So it's really kind of cool. And then the other stuff is just, you know, reusable bags. You know, pretty much everybody brings that. So you know, and
reusing the existing packaging.
Right.
You know, you guys have people use the boxes, you know,
that too. Yeah.
And you know, instead of using a bag, they'll just grab like the cardboard boxes and fill up their stuff.
Right.
And
and I've got bags in my trunk that I've had for 4 or 5 years, and it's showing it. But you know what? They're reusable, and it's great. You know, that's what we live. That's what we're trying to promote. So as a company, you know, we're really hopefully within the next 5 or 6 years, we're looking at reducing our entire carbon footprint as a company. That's our goal.
Wow.
Now. we're getting
Reduce
there.
it to what, to where?
To zero.
To zero. Wow.
By using CO2, we're doing that. We're using LEDs, so we're reducing our electric usage. We hardly have any gas at all, except for our hot water, and then even some of that, now we're using the spot heaters for that.
Mhm.
So we're analyzing everything that we can, and that's the reason why we're getting all these awards. The thing is, that doesn't get the publicity, but that's the kind of stuff that's great for society, great for the world we live in.
Well,
I'm
that's right.
glad you
Promote
told
it.
us about it.
Yeah.
I didn't know any of
Oh,
this.
yeah. And you wouldn't think a grocery retailer would do this, but, and it goes back, we're one of the largest grocery retailers in the world. One of the largest in Europe. We've got over 2,300 stores in the United States. We've got 26 divisions. We just opened up a division down in Mobile, Alabama. We're gonna open up another one in Phoenix. So we're a silent growth retailer for that. And then plus us coming into all of that, guess what? Your food dollars and your sales tax aren't going to the other cities. They're gonna stay in all of that.
How often have you abandoned any of your buildings?
Normally what we do is remodel those. Or we replace them in the same ones, like in Washington, Missouri. I just replaced that store, and also in Crestwood. We stayed in the city. I mean, we're looking at, I signed a base year with Greg here for 20 years. And then we add another 20 to 30 years on top of that. So when we talk about staying, and a lot of the retailers are going, okay, 5 or 10 years, we're committed to 20 years for that. And then we got 20 to 30 years even after that. So we're here to stay. We are here to stay. Yeah. So, and then when we open our doors up, hope to see everybody there at the opening day. Can give you a tour.
With our quarters.
Then what's that?
With our quarters.
That's right. That's right. With your quarters. And actually we sell these little things where you can put them in your purse, or it ties to like your boat loop too, where you can bring it in and put your quarter there.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Even
And like I said, a lot of people don't even bring it in, because when people are walking
They
in, they
trade it.
see people unloading, they'll walk over to you and say, hey, here's a quarter. And it's a fun thing.
It is.
Because we're saving, and
Even
that.
as all the grocery prices were going up, the quarters stayed constant.
yeah, right. And then really, if you look at it too, from our quality and our price, nobody can beat it. If you haven't been in our store, I'm not gonna say any names, but we're probably anywhere between 15 or to more than 50% cheaper with the same quality.
That doesn't mean that I haven't read the articles and I haven't seen the great, stuff that's on YouTube and things like that. I dearly dig into information. So, you're enlightening me. The world is enlightening me,
Right.
and I will be ending up going to an Aldi's.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And then you'll learn about the Aldi Isle of Shame too. That's where we have all our Aldi finds, and you go into that, and that only comes in, it stays in there for like 2 weeks. So it's really great buys, holiday stuff. I know we had some really nice mantle deer that unfortunately I got in trouble for not finding or going in our stores and buying for my wife for that. But no, it's there's Facebook pages on cities trying to get us in there. There's Facebook page for St. Louis. People are just looking for different stuff, but we change people's lives. We're going to save you money, and what you're bringing into the city is going to help.
And how many people operate or in the store?
In the stores,
Yeah.
we're probably looking around 20 to 25 people in our
Oh,
stores.
okay. That's
know,
more
what
than
was-
I expected.
Yeah.
That's an employee definition.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we're gonna have a store manager, usually 2 assistant managers, and then we'll have team members underneath there for that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. Great.
yeah, so we're looking right around those numbers. It might start at 20,
Right.
but hopefully it should go up from there.
And then I'm gonna come back with community.
Yes,
What are you gonna bring back? And that's not for here. It's my saying on behalf of my community. Think about what you're gonna give to our community as you become part of our community. We got a great turkey trot coming up. We have other things going on, and would love to see you as a partner.
Sponsorships.
yeah, our store operations team deals with that, so that's kind of out of my realm. I build the stores and they take it over from there.
Well, you give me those names.
Okay, I can do that. We can do that. Yes. But you're gonna see it when your constituents come into our stores, and they see our prices, they're just amazed. They think they're, you know, bargains or whatever. They go, these are our normal everyday low prices for them. And then, you know, most of them are our own name brands. But the quality is just as good as name brands.
Mhm.
When you try it on, and if you don't like it, bring it back. We'll give you a new one. And we'll pay you, give you your money back. That's how much we believe in what we do.
It's all about chemicals.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And we've got organic produce too. We've got non-gluten free line too for that. And we're limited assortment. And we've only got like 1,200 items, 1,300 items, plus all the fines. Yeah, so that's what's making us so efficient in what we do.
They don't have like all the different types of breads, and
for
that
sure.
saves.
Yeah, we usually have one of everything.
Yeah, and honestly, that saves so much time going through the store. Where if you're like me, that I price compare everything, and it's
Right.
a nightmare.
And that's how we can keep our prices down too.
Yeah.
You know, we negotiate with one supplier and we just get that one thing from them. And with the buying power of 26 divisions, 2,300 stores, that's what's our magic to our success. Plus we take care of our people. You know, we pay our people very well, benefits. I mean, there's not too many people are paying their associates insurance for them. We do that. So.
Any differences with this store compared to some of your other stores?
Well-
Any interior finishes that are different or anything like that?
Not really per se, because we just got done remodeling all of our stores here within the last 4 years. So from a shopper's experience, once you walk in that front door, it's going to be pretty much the same experience. Now aesthetically on the outside, you see what this store looks like. You can go down and see U-Cities. It's not different aesthetically because we've changed our prototype for the exterior. So you're going to see a difference there, but the interior experience is going to be pretty much the same.
New buildings that you've built that's close to here, where are they located?
Let's see. A lot of them have been in rural. We just opened up Perryville, Missouri. A lot of remodels.
Dorset Road is getting, Dorset Road, are you building one on Dorset right
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's a new one. Yeah, you'll be able to see that one. Our Maryland Heights store. We've
Yeah.
got that going on right now. Yeah, Crestwood was inline because, yeah, a lot of the newer ones we've had here have been inline stores.
Yeah,
Yeah, High Ridge, have been remodels. So this is a standalone store. This would be the first one we've kind of done. What's that? Yeah, yeah, but we remodeled that. So as a brand new ground up store, this is gonna be our first one we've done in a while in St. Louis metropolitan area.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, because a lot of them
Great.
have been remodels, or we've got the old inline space and then remodeled the store from there.
Yeah, I've seen one of your new stores. I can't remember the location, but it was probably like an hour outside St. Louis.
Like Ozark, open one.
Yeah,
A year and a half ago.
I mean, if you go out,
Eagles Landing.
Maybe it was.
Because that's about an hour out of here.
I can't remember. I'm gonna try to look it up. It was at a charging station, and you guys had one, so I just went over to check it out. And it was,
yeah,
I'll look to figure
Okay,
out what it
yeah.
is. But
let us know. But no, I said, hope to see everybody there. Well, I'll see you again here with December 7th.
yeah,
So, but when that time comes, we open up the store. I'd love to see you come and then we could give you a quick tour around the store. It's really, really fun to see.
the lighting, just getting back to that parking lot lighting.
Yes.
Do you have any, ability to use different, what is it? Not lumens, it's the light frequency, I think. Kind of the
actually-
warmth, the temperature, I guess.
Yeah, we'll have to see, if the lighting on the other part of the development has already been
Right.
approved.
Mhm.
Let us get with Greg
Yeah,
and see if Aldi will accept that fixture
yeah,
and let us come back to you at the next meeting. with
because
it.
we definitely want the whole place not to be lit with different colors for sure.
Right.
That
Right.
would not look good.
Same light colors.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Let's
Chairman,
look into that.
as they talk about the sustainability, just to make sure everybody notes that there's an EV station So right here.
Yeah, we
Fantastic.
have that, yeah, we're putting that in ahead of time so that when that time comes, we'll be able to put that in. So we're running the conduit and everything out there for that.
Very good.
So when the time comes,
Yeah.
you say, hey, we need to do that. We're just gonna electrify it. And we're ready
Fantastic.
to roll. So again, that's one of our forward thinking, parts of what our company stands for.
So will it be, so are you gonna put a charging station there or?
It
is
won't
just
be
gonna
there at first, but what we're doing is we're gonna run that to our power wall, in a conduit run. So when that time comes, either it's, as a company, we decide, you know what, let's start doing, provide that. Or, you decide as a city, say, you know what, we want everybody to start doing EV, allow EV chargers in all the different retailers.
You need to talk to
We got it.
MUE and see if they'll assist you.
Excuse me?
We need to talk with MUE and see if there's something with regard to assistance to assist you. I mean, they've been coming to me for 3 years saying, we've got these programs for EV.
Yeah.
Microphone.
I'm sorry, you know, MNUE's come to me for numerous years with regards to getting these EVs into developments and having some financial assistance with that process. You know, I don't know where they are today, but almost every year they're like, hey, EV,
Right.
and charging stations. So.
Okay. Right, yeah.
And those are gonna be kind of, you're putting the wires out to those islands? Are you
Right,
gonna do,
yeah,
are
we're
you
gonna
gonna
have
have?
there, but we're not gonna, we won't be opening up with the actual.
No, no,
charger
I
itself,
get that,
right.
but are you gonna also have the wires on that, the south side of the parking lot? It
For-
seems like a good place for,
Yeah, actually, we've just got the wiring for that area only.
I guess those are, yeah, I'm just
for
a
that.
thought. No, makes sense there. You
Oh, yeah.
You've got the cars, backing right up to it. So if you have that, looks like it's just ground, right? Or is it
Yes.
sidewalk,
No, it's green space.
green space? So
Right.
that'd be easier to get into.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anything else
Okay.
we can bring back to you for the next meeting?
More renderings on the different sides of the building. I would love to see, if we can get some sort of the concept for the development type of fencing or system that's in place so we can see what it's gonna look like for Aldi.
Right.
I wanna see renderings of what a pedestrian's gonna see when looking from Price Road.
Yeah, I think so.
Looking at the store.
Kind of that
The drive, where the
northeast.
truck is.
Can I read you what I wrote down?
Yeah,
See if there's anything you can add to it?
Yeah.
So one would be, perspective and sight lines to the dock area.
Mhm.
Realistic,
Yeah.
make sure the elevation's right, landscaping, the details of all that fencing is correct. A little more information on the glass windows, materials, what are they, what kind of shade are they, smoked screen, et cetera. The sight lines to the HV systems on the roof.
Yes.
The idea is that you don't want to see them from the streets.
Right.
We're gonna see if there's another option for the downspouts that are on to, the olive side. Options on the refuge area for the striping and how better to delineate that with something other than just striping. Whether it's some type of decorative border, we'll come up with some things and come back to you with that. The hilltop element at Olive, we'll work with Greg on that. I hope that this commission will let him kind of deal with that, but we will work with him to create the space needed for whatever he comes up with. We would appreciate not to potentially hold up the Aldi project for that component, but we can maybe talk about a reserve area that's allocated for something, but we can talk about that at the next meeting. We'll get with Greg on his approved light standards throughout the development and see if we can get those approved with all these electrical engineers, if how those interact with their prototypes and see how that works. They do have vendors and certain people they have to deal with, so we will see if we can use those models. If not, come up with something extremely close and also mimicking light levels and light color, et cetera.
And if you might have said this already, but the style of lights.
Yes,
you
and
know,
we're gonna bring those
yeah.
fixtures back to you in color to show you what they look like in elevation view. More detailed color renderings of all four sides of the building, with materials, and then the fencing detail along Price and how that works with the other lots of the development.
And
The-
the refuge area.
Yeah, I mentioned
That's-
that.
that's that one.
And just a shot that's not just from the north, south, east and west, but we definitely want to see that from the, a view looking northeast, kind of from Price, if that makes sense.
It does.
Yeah.
I would think it would help if you guys have said that this is one of your stores that you guys have built before with the finishes and everything that's already there. If we can see some real pictures from one of those stores. would
The
help.
exterior walls, no.
No.
The
you-
interior, yes.
Okay, okay. Not, you guys have never used these materials and everything
For the building.
or close to
materials.
it?
Oh, I mean,
Well, not in this, at this level.
right. But I mean, we could show them the new Jackson store
Okay.
that we just
I-
opened up.
Yeah, yeah.
I think that would help. Whatever,
Yeah.
whatever's the closest
Perryville
one to
Perryville
this.
just opened up a few weeks ago.
Yeah, I think whatever the closest to this exterior is,
Mhm.
I think that would help the commission understand what that
Okay.
is
Yeah,
gonna
no
look
problem.
like. Yeah.
One of the things, adding on to that, Chairman, again,
Mhm.
and they did bring a sample board, but getting an understanding, you know, one of the primary materials they're using is this here. In here, and there's references to that. It's not a brick, but it's a CMU, somewhat the same, but making sure you guys understand what that is and what that looks like. And if there's not a store that has that, a building or facility that utilizes that material, and there, and maybe the commission understands what it's gonna look like in there, but I wanna make sure that you guys
It's,
have that.
it's just
comfort.
cement block.
Yes. Yeah, it's a cement block.
Can I see that,
And when I send you pictures.
Excuse me, can I-
That's what I think would help everybody on the
Yeah, yeah.
commission to do. Okay,
It's like a small conference spot, you know, you don't get a good
right, exactly right.
feeling of it.
okay, Jim.
Now, this is gonna be the Nietzsche hot panel here. This is that, the brown portion of that. That's a compound.
Okay, so it's pretty smooth. There's a slight texture to it.
They use the Nietzsche on the. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's.
right.
So I'm not familiar with that term. Could you, yeah. It's a brand?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Exactly.
fiber cement. I mean,
Okay.
it looks like wood.
It does.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I wouldn't be concerned about that, though masonry is the only thing I would be concerned about. The Nietzsche looks nice. You see it all around town now. It's a great product. It lasts forever. It's the right thing. The masonry is what I think we need to focus in on and make sure that that is correct, for us.
Are there gonna be any benches at all? You know, where people are sitting or whatever?
Usually our operations people have a bench, right, as you exit. But like in the front of the store, no.
I was just thinking on this, on the outside somehow, but I'm not sure if
Regulating your
anything.
development.
Mhm. Yeah. No, but if you got charging stations, people sometimes park and they might go into Aldi, grab some food, come out, and I know, they would like to eat outside or something like that. So there could be a limitation on only using the charging if you're a customer. I'm not sure if you're gonna have that or not.
Yeah, we haven't even got to that point yet. We're
Yeah.
just putting the infrastructure in there,
But-
being ready. for it.
Right. But sometimes you go to all these charging stations and there's no place to sit down
Right.
outside.
Right,
And
other than your car.
yeah.
That's
You
it.
know, that's it, exactly.
Mhm.
And it's not as, you go to some places that do, you have places and it's a nicer, it's a nicer time, I guess.
Right, right.
So,
Right.
So on the materials, the other thing, Chairman, I have to emphasize, this is probably the most critical and most important cross-section that you guys are gonna look at. And if you don't understand it, then it's not doing its job. If you're happy with that, that's great. I think it could be better. And
what are you thinking about?
I'm not saying, right now, it's a whole bunch of lines in there, so it doesn't give, this is what we're looking for. And if you think that looks like that, and it may, but I think you as a commission need more visuals about what that is going to look like.
Well, I
a
think
good
that's what
exa-
we're trying to talk about with Greg, trying to find out,
Not that corner.
not the corner, but we're asking about the walls around it.
We can give you a more
Mhm.
colorful rendering as on the left to
Yeah.
mimic my site section I drew on the right. It's very comparable. It just doesn't have the color and the detail to it. But it's a similar example of the wall next to the walk with some green space, but we can present you an updated
That would be
section
great.
through there. It's
And a
not-
couple of things we expressed to them is that this linear length, this is a long length. This is a long wall. So we don't, again, not a comparable, but look what our neighbor did on the other side. In there, this has nothing comparable to the height, on that. Look at the Chick-fil-A in there, but they have a detention basin or pond in between the sidewalk and their wall. But this is our corridor, and the whole intent of this development was to enhance that corridor. It is important that you take a look at this in there, and if it articulates this, I believe it's there. I'd like to see more of what that character is.
Well, and I think you did talk about putting the evergreens, up there on top of that wall. So showing kind of the color version of it, getting the idea of what that
And-
wall, or not wall, but fencing would look like, I think is gonna go a long way.
And one thing I'd caution the commission, and while, their solution is the incorporation of vegetation, which is permissible by code. Vegetation requires work, maintenance, and follow-up. And that's a resource my department cannot follow through all the time.
Right.
In there, and you have to make the distinction, we want this vegetation and all that, but, I take fault for it, but you look across the street and see how much vegetation is now gone from the CVS and what we initially saw. And that is a product of poor enforcement. And again, I oversee that, but it's also a product of, that's what happens. You get sold on landscaping, but landscaping requires continual maintenance, and maintenance requires funds. So.
All right, well, you heard him.
No, it's not,
And
it's just,
a good
it's an
point. It's a very
experience.
good point.
It's
I think too, if you look at our other stores, that's something, we want our store to look very inviting.
Right,
We don't want to look horrible. We don't want the landscaping to be overgrown.
right.
That's just part of being a successful retailer.
Yeah, trying to get a better idea of how that's gonna look. Yeah, it's a good point well made.
Yeah.
It's an unfortunate learned experience.
Right.
And it doesn't prevent us from going back to CVS and pushing this, in there. But it requires a lot of time and manpower.
Right.
Well, a lot of it, when we put our landscaping in, you're not gonna see much of the store.
I'm sure. we'll
Just
see
the
it.
sign.
Keep on the back.
I'm sure.
And-
Did you say see the sign?
Just see the sign.
See the sign.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, oh, yeah, you're right, that'd be high enough.
All right, very good. Does anybody else have any questions or comments? Anything else you guys wanted to bring up?
I don't think there's time. I think let us go back to our homework on this, come back to you with,
Yeah,
hit these points, and we'll come back with some graphics of all these items, so we can talk about it some more.
great.
Great.
And just clarify December 7th. That's the next meeting.
That is the next, that
Yes.
is, yeah, that is,
Mr. Chairman, if I could ask a question,
absolutely.
when you are asking for the visuals of what you want to see, and what it would look like, I know that you asked for a offer price, we have residential homes there. Do we have a visual of what the back of this, grocery store would look like to those that are in the apartment complex? That
Yeah,
will
we-
be higher and above what this is,
We'll
what
have
are
that
they
included.
looking
We'll
at?
do all four sides.
Okay.
And here they have a pretty good elevation and that impacts Mr. Yowett's the most, but they have the tower element, they have the mixture of materials, the windows are a little line, but remember, you're getting that south view.
I get it,
and
but I get it, but to me, this is just black and white lines right now, and I'm a visual, let me see, just like I took a board and said, let me touch and feel, that's all I'm saying.
And here's the important part. Here is where the materials look the same, but there's a lot of depth in that process.
Recess.
Yes. And
We'll come back with colored, more detail, some photos, and articulate that better.
I think we would have heard if there was a concern.
Great, great.
Yeah, I mean, from the apartment's perspective, right? So as the neighbor to this as well, one of the things that we've discussed is there's only so much in this world that can be done because we have a 5-story building. So we can talk about what the people on floor 1 see, but people on floor 5 are looking down at every building in Olivet within the perimeter of their vision, right? They're not looking down on 9660s. They see the rooftop equipment at Chevy's.
Right.
You can see it probably from the 3rd floor. So we're not super concerned because it's the nature of living above grade 2, right? If you have a 2-story house next to a 1-story house, you see the roof, right?
Yeah.
We don't think the tenants have any concern about that. We were really happy about the limited number of deliveries per day, right? 1 per day. But then we also upgraded our windows to these Italian crazy windows that you can't hear anything through. So, we took precaution in the event we got something busy in front of the apartments. And the feedback we've gotten from I think we're up to 40 leases now. The feedback is, oh my God, there's a grocer I can walk to out the front door. We hope so, yes. And that's a big selling point for the apartments is who else gets to walk to a grocery store and it's literally like 75 feet. So we think it's gonna be great.
That's great. Well, thank you very much
Thank
for
you.
presenting and
Appreciate it.
going through all
Thanks
this.
for your comments.
It's great.
Okay,
All
thank
right.
you. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
Let me go find my agenda. What's that? Yeah, I guess, should we do public comments?
Or
Is
if there is
I
anybody,
didn't- I didn't even ask.
there are a couple of people online, and if there's anybody that would like to speak regarding this petition, if
Thank
you can show your hand.
And sorry for that. Yeah. Sorry. What?
I think the Paris Baguette franchise is on.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah.
And
Okay.
Chairman, I don't see anybody raising their.
Okay, good. Seeing none, we'll move on. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good
Okay,
night.
we'll move on to other business meeting minutes,
You have a set of meeting minutes there for your action. It is from the
November 2nd.
second. Yes, sir.
2023. Would somebody like to acknowledge this?
Oh, Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead, Carol.
I'd like to acknowledge receipt of the meeting minutes for November 2nd, 2023.
So acknowledged, and we will, if you guys had any changes, please let Carlos know. We'll move on to reports. Carlos.
A couple of reports in there. So the building permit for lot 3, which is associated with this development, is the multi-tenant retail building near the interchange. That permit has been issued. We're waiting on the developer to start on the footing foundation. We hope that that moves along quickly in the process. We've had discussions with the developer that is assembled the Irvington Rhyme area. In there, we hope that they're going to be applying for their building permits by year's end, if not beginning of January. We did ask them to clear cut the vegetation on that site, and we purposely requested that they allow the overgrowth to kind of create a prairie type of environment while there was a standstill in construction. And there, it looks like progress is going well with the acquisition of the railroad there in the northeast quadrant and the North Price Industrial Park in there. But dealing with the railroad does take time, but this is probably the furthest we've gotten, and things seem like pretty well in place in there. And then that'll connect, of course, with that crosswalk here. And I think that's a great accomplishment by the city. We've been working on this for the longest time to make this interconnection with the Hilltop, Arrowhead, Collingwood neighborhoods in there. So and it took a collaborative approach. That's Great Rivers Greenway, Keats property, and Mr. Yowitz, the city of all of that, and MoDOT to get there. And it wasn't an easy feat in there. So it's pretty exciting, and it starts that interconnectivity in that process. The other phase of the Greenway that will be in Indian Meadows Park, I think they're getting ready to have a contractor has been selected. They're getting set to have a construction meeting and get that entailed. And then the goal here is, I mean, you could walk from these apartments off street all the way to the new Five Oaks community center. So that's a great addition to the community. So we're excited about that. Progress continues on at the St. Louis Dance Academy and their relocation. And there we did reach out to meet with the property representatives to discuss the, what do they have planned for that building in possible uses in there. So we hope to get that going once they vacate the spot in there. We had a couple of big tenants that we acquired, pulled building permits. The old Alzheimer's facility that's located in the 9300 block of Olive, Cherry Berry, is relocating from Ladue to that site, and they're a high-end invitation printing type of marketing establishment that's going to take up that space.
Taking over the Alzheimer's?
Yes.
I don't know, are they building what they wanted to build behind it yet?
No, not that that's a whole different story, and I haven't heard what the progress is. But we are getting progress at least across the street here as they're starting to work on the utility infrastructure in there. And I think his goal would be to try to get a footing foundation before it gets too cold on there. But it's going to be quite the feat to do so, to get that bar in there. Our next meeting, we did not have any petitions that have been submitted. So it will be regarding the Audi, and we'll have further work session discussion items if the opportunity presents itself in there. The city attorney did have a discussion with the council regarding the bamboo ordinance, and they're working on some revisions. So that'll probably be coming back early next year. And then finally, and importantly, the open house on November 30th. I would urge commission members to attend, just in terms of a presence in there, and then be engaged in that process too. Outside of that, be glad to answer any questions. Don, if you have anything else to add to.
Seeing no questions, Missy?
I will be seeing a lot of you on Thursday morning at the Olivet 10th anniversary turkey trot that will happen on Thanksgiving morning. My understanding is we'll have some pleasant surprises. So beyond that, there is an election that will be coming up in April. So pulling packets and dealing with that process is beginning. You've seen a blast or two out already on the website. Want to wish everyone a happy holiday season. Olivet's gonna have a holiday party on December 15th at the Five Oaks. Hope you can stop by, but you know, if you are, make sure you let the city know you're gonna be there. And with that, you know, really appreciate everything that you've done. To get to this day has been very exciting. Rob, you were a newbie at the last comprehensive effort with land plan. You're a newbie and now you're gonna be signing it, baby. So that's it, guys. Take care. God bless you. Thank you for all you do.
All right, thanks. Any other questions or comments? That being said, we'll adjourn at 9:46. Thanks.
Thank you all.